Hello, hello, on a Thursday afternoon edition. Glad you guys could tune in. Yesterday was a great day. Last night, I was tired from the day before, just worn out after broadcasting for 13 hours. And I let my mouth write a check. My body just couldn't cash. I planned on going last night, but just couldn't do it. Just didn't have it in me. But I'm back today, feeling great. I think we're going to go with 2 today. Got this one now. Just to give you a little bit of housekeeping, I've got a show all set up. But of course, President Trump is going to be doing a signing of executive orders today. And those executive order signings have not lately been something that they broadcast live. So he goes in, he signs them, and you start seeing people post snippets on X, and then shortly thereafter, or an hour thereafter, or whatever, they end up releasing that in video form someplace, and then we can see the networks pull it. I'm sure he'll be answering some questions on it, because it's supposedly about, actually, I don't know how many he's signing, but one of them that he's signing is supposedly about dismantling the Department of Education. And at that point, well, every single day the Democrats lose their minds, but this one will be a big one. If that's the executive order, you can already see the gif of them running to court. Like I've told you, I will continue to say that the Democrats are no longer the opponent. Forget it. They are not viable. They can't do anything. The only opponent Donald Trump has right now is the court system, including the Supreme Court. Now, I mentioned something to you yesterday about that Supreme Court decision that everybody was freaking out about. And I did an interview today with Congressman William Timmons. I asked him a question too. And also Jonathan Turley had some stuff. It's not what the media wants you to think. They just can't release all the money and just keep releasing it. It was a very defined window. And that window was for, as I mentioned yesterday, work that's already been completed. So now what'll probably happen is he'll probably kick it to, I don't know, Department of Justice, somebody, to begin determining, did the work actually take place? If the work didn't take place, then they're probably not going to end up doing anything. I'm just checking some other stuff here to make sure we're on par in case he does come out. Let me just check this real quick. Okay, hold on. Let me just cut back. Oops, that didn't work. I want to cut this. Okay, so it's there. I don't see any sound right now because it's not ready. All right, so anyway, I'm getting ready on my end just in case and when it begins. And then once it begins, we will obviously cut right to it. Sound is 5x5. We're all set. So if you noticed on the polling on the comments, whatever you want to call it, the profile, I put up a short poll, but I'm about to take it down right now. And I'm going to explain that poll right now, which I am ecstatic about. I put up a poll and said, are mods having a tough job with our growth? Are they doing a great job? Too tough on enforcement? Not enough. 97% of you that have responded say our mods are doing good or can even go further, which delights me because their job is very, very, very tough. And as usual, this just confirmed, the squeaky wheel makes the most noise. I've been getting quite a few emails and comments on X, and Ashley's been getting emails. Hey, I'm getting I didn't do anything, I just didn't do anything, and they put me in timeout and everything else, and I'm thankful that these people who I think are the best of the best. I mean, I've been on a lot of different pages, and they have to deal with something that I don't think you realize a lot of people have to deal with. On some of my shows, we will have in excess of 25 to 30,000 comments. A regular show is going to be about 10,000 comments. A slow show is going to be anywhere between 5 and 9,000 comments. So you got 4 or 5 people who are interchangeable, come in when they can, because, you can't possibly do it every single day, twice a day, for as long as we do it. But they're doing a great job, and I personally applaud them. I mean, and in that regard, as just from a 30,000 foot view, having worked for Disney, one of the things I saw when I worked at Disney is for every person that complained, it meant there was 10 or 15 other people that felt the same way, and you weren't getting a good representation of what was really going on. Well, this one confirmed it. 97%, it's over, done. Not bringing it up anymore. I am putting full trust in SV, Roaring Rage, Beth, Severo, Tommy Lawrence, and Ashley, and Robin when she gets in. I don't have time to keep wondering if someone has said the wrong thing or not. And so in that regard, that's what they're here for. And as I move forward, just to let you know, another housekeeping thing is what you're going to see and how this show is moving forward is going to change. Some of you may not realize it too much. Some of you may go, wow, he's really changed the show and what he's doing. I'm getting ready because I'm talking to quite a few people about possibly moving into some sort of a network, not television network, other kind of network. I mean, you wouldn't notice the difference. Basically getting the show distributed even further. And I have to then stay within certain realms. So you're just going to see some modifications, and you're like, oh, I see what he's doing. And ads going at certain times and music. Just, you can tell I was testing something. Doing a 13-hour broadcast the other night, I was like, 13 hours? I mean, that's crazy. How can I just let this thing go? I think you're going to see the same kind of changes over on Bongino's channel. You see, the changes are being mandated, well, not mandated, but they're being compelled by YouTube. I'm going to give you a little inside baseball before I begin here. But the inside baseball from YouTube at this point is they have found out that most people are beginning to watch YouTube videos, especially podcasts, on their television. The overwhelming amount of people who are watching from their television. So they want things done a certain way to increase the way people watch, their satisfaction, and in that regards, that's what I'm going to be doing. One more thing I want to tell you. People say, hey, Barry, why is your intro 3 or 4 minutes? Well, that's another reason. Because when YouTube sends out the notifications to people who are subscribers or otherwise, they're not sitting there waiting for Barry. They may be doing things. So it gives people 3, 4, 5 minutes to get together and come on in and, jump into the chat. So that gives them time. That's the reason. You can tell people that. And I'll change that sporadically. And the last thing that I'm going to say in regards to that is I love you guys. You guys have made the last year fantastic for me. As you see, I'm posting some snippet comments as well. We're going to be posting more content on X as well. We are 9 days away from my 1-year anniversary of covering Trump, and I couldn't be happier in regards how things happened, especially on November 5th. And I remember many of you were commenting, and you guys were saying, what are you going to do after the election? There's not going to be enough to talk about. And I was like, oh, watch. There's going to be a whole lot to talk about. And in that regard, that was one thing I was absolutely correct about. I knew that it was going to be a whirlwind, and I don't see it stopping. And I want to let you guys know that. What we're seeing here is not, something that's just transpiring. It is going to continue. He is going to push the pedal down. He is going to keep driving these people into the dirt. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So let's get to the show. So right now, Tammy Bruce is holding her first press conference. And her press conference is in regards to, she's the spokesperson at the, Pentagon? No, State Department. So she's Marco Rubio's press secretary, like Caroline Leavitt is Donald Trump's secretary. So as this is her first, and many of you know Tammy Bruce from Fox News, let's we can go ahead and peek in for a little bit before I begin. If she's boring, I'm going to bounce out because it's the State Department, so they're going to be talking about foreign relations, foreign policy, and things of that nature. But there's no reason why we couldn't peek in and see how she's doing here, because it might be worthwhile. The way things are going in this country and what's going on in foreign stuff, she may have a lot to talk about in regards to Ukraine. So let's take a listen.
For people who love this country and serve her every day. And so there's something I never thought I would say, except screaming at the screen at this gentleman sitting here. Just a remarkable illustration of how life changes and has surprises for us. Matt Lee from the Associated Press. I'm going to also ask you, when asking a question, we have a number of cameras in the back. People are watching through streaming at state.gov, our social media accounts as well, and a variety of different ways. Announce your name if you could and your outlet. That would be terrific. Matt Lee, I'll announce for you because you're so shy with the Associated Press. Sir, what can I tell you?
Well, first of all, thank you for your opening remarks there. And I would also say congratulations, because for those of us who were around back at the beginning of the first Trump administration, the first State Department briefing in 2017 was on March 7th. So you have beaten that by 1 day.
There you go.
I don't know if
not
you're
that
aware.
you're competitive, but I did not know. All right.
So anyway, so
thank
you got that. You have a record already.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway, yes, thank you very much for your commitment to speaking to us and being open and transparent. I just want to say before I begin, and I have a very brief question, but before we begin, that I think everybody in this room understands that elections have consequences. Everybody in this room understands that the President of the United States sets the agenda for foreign policy, and so the questions that you will get today and going forward are all aimed at trying to find out what that policy is, one, and then how the State Department is actually implementing it. So I hope in that, with that we can go forward. So the first thing, my question is about the AID.
Sure.
USAID. So on January 20th, the entire Function 150 account of the federal budget, which is all of the State Department and USAID, including operations, salaries, was roughly about 1% of the budget. What's your understanding of where that percentage is today?
Well, what I can tell you is President Trump was elected to change the status quo. Part of what has initiated this dynamic that we've all watched play out is what's it been? I think it's been 6 weeks. Is an effort to deal with waste, fraud, and abuse. This began with a simple inquiry of USAID to look at their books, to look and inquire, and they refused. They said, we're an autonomous organization, you have no right to come in. The intention was not to do it in a manner that you've been watching unfold. It began because there was no cooperation at the beginning. And the inquiry, of course, was because of the debt, the nature of being $2 trillion, that it was an unsustainable and remains an unsustainable way of running anything, a household or a government. There's a point where you have to look up and say, we need to see at least what's happening. So this has been a pause, a 90-day pause, we shouldn't forget that, to look at the nature of how the taxpayer money has been spent and if it was being used in the proper way for the things that we've allotted it for. And that began. It was certainly in a manner that was not planned on, but we needed to do it. It was something that was, of course, important to accomplish the nature of dealing with, is there fraud, is there abuse, is there waste, how can we fix the system so that taxpayer dollars are being used properly. And in the process, of course, we've looked through some of these issues. You heard at the joint session of Congress addressed by the President, some of the remarkable programs that we were paying for around the world, millions of dollars. Clearly, change has had to be made. And that's what we're doing right now. There's change not only when it comes to what's being funded, but also how the bureaucracy works, and if a bureaucracy the size that it was needed to exist in the way that it exists. all of this review is important. At the same time, within a review like this, because you're looking at whether or not there's an efficiency in the way money is spent, it doesn't mean that we're not going to be doing foreign aid. It's a matter of how are we going to be doing the aid, and if it is effective, and if it is efficient, and if it achieves the goals that we want that make America safe, more prosperous, more secure, and there's nothing that's deviated from that. On the issue of the numbers, you asked about numbers. Clearly, this is a rapid dynamic. This is a process that is an internal process that involves an entire host of decisions that are being made over a number of different bureaus and dynamics that I'm not a part of. We see what the results are. We have been getting the notifications about the nature of the numbers involved, but I can't go into specifics on this day or how they might even be tomorrow. Yes.
The reason that I pushed on the
Yes.
percentage number was because one of the first fact sheets that this department put out, and I know that you probably didn't have much of anything to do with it, but it was
don't underestimate me. Not yet.
Well, it was on January 29th, and it was about the executive order on
Sure.
and it said in there, even setting aside generous support for Ukraine over the past several years, the U.S. is spending roughly $70 billion in foreign aid annually. Well, that was just not correct. And several hours later, after myself and other people pointed this out,
Yes.
it was changed, but it wasn't sent out again. It was just changed online. But it was changed to $40 billion instead of 70.
Right.
And I just want to know, the people who put this together, and I don't know who they were, but that's a $30 billion
Yes.
mistake. Is
Yes.
that the kind of accounting that...
No, it's not. And I think, and can speak on behalf certainly of my department and of this entire department and the speed with which some of these things are happening, that mistakes are corrected. There was one.
Okay.
It was corrected, and that's certainly not going to happen again. That's what I can pledge to you. I do know, and as everyone learned on that day, that the data matters, which is why I'm not going to stand here and guess, that the facts of the matter, and we're determined. I am determined in this role. This is not just a first day for me, but also for the department to see the nature as a reminder of what you're all interested in and what we have to speak to, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's everything's a learning curve. But at that point, of course, that's a significant difference, and let's just say it's not going to happen again.
Thank you.
Sir. Yes, Rich.
Hi, Tammy.
Fox News. We all know that, right?
Here,
Yes.
you have to introduce yourself.
Rich Edson with Fox
That's
News.
right.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tammy, on this USAID investigation, Peter Morocco has been on Capitol Hill over the past couple of days, briefing members of Congress and updating them on this, where he told them that they have uncovered waste, fraud, and abuse to a level that would require referrals to the Department of Justice for investigation. Can you provide any specific examples of illegal wrongdoing, or what the department believes is illegal wrongdoing at USAID?
Well, obviously, and this is my first chance to say what I can't comment on, which is, in general, certainly any possible litigation, the nature of negotiations or contemplations regarding action that the government might take, certainly not only because I've not been in the room, but it's because you've got, whether it's diplomatic conversations or issues of determining what we might do and what might not do. It also goes into hypotheticals. So no, I can't answer that. What I can say, again, is that the level of what we've discovered at USAID is troubling enough to where this is the kind of conversation that is perhaps going to have to be had by the American people and even perhaps Congress. But I think at this point, when we're looking at this kind of an issue that we see through our existing investigations and inquiries, that we've clearly got some problems. And so we're determined to correct those problems. Where it ends up is going to be, of course, something we'll see in the future, but that's not something I've been involved in.
So a conversation with the American people in Congress. How about with the Department of Justice?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. But it is, the seriousness with which this is being addressed is something the American people should be happy about. It is why President Trump was elected, was to take action on the things that he campaigned on, as many people did as well. We knew something was wrong and it had to change. And this is up to, of course, to the people who are doing the investigations, whether or not any of that actually manifests. All right. Yes, Sean.
Thank you, and welcome to the podium.
Thank you.
Sean Tandon with AFP. Can I switch the topic to the Middle East? The situation.
Let me ask though. Any other questions on the USAID situation? A bunch of hands. I'm shocked. All right. We'll get back to you when we move into the Middle East. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Daphne Soledad. We're listening here to the first State Department briefing being held by spokesperson Tammy Bruce. We're stepping away for a quick break. We'll be back out to.
Okay, well, they step away for their break, and she's, just so you guys know, she is essentially Marco Rubio's spokesperson. Caroline Leavitt still has a job. She hasn't gone anywhere. She is President Trump's spokesperson. Each one of these large departments has a spokesperson. I'm not sure who Pete Hegseth's spokesperson is yet, but we'll find out who that person is coming up. So while they're doing a break, and I'm sitting here watching on another monitor to make sure we don't miss the notifications of the executive order signing, let me get into my show. Okay. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks for tossing it. All right, so while we were watching all kinds of different things happen the other day, there was a monstrous hearing over in the House Oversight Committee. And that House Oversight Committee, in case you guys didn't see it or didn't follow it, there was a big hearing about sanctuary cities. And they brought in 4 mayors from across the country, and these people decided they were going to come in and talk to the Congress, House people. Mayor Adams from Massachusetts, Mayor Wu from Boston, whack job. I forget the guy's name, from Denver, and you're going to see the 4th guy, Brandon Johnson from Chicago, another whack job. And this thing had some spirited debate. I mean, I'm jealous and pissed that I didn't cover this thing live, because I'm like, this is pretty good. So I'm going to jump into it, and I've got a quick intro of about a minute and a half. And this minute and a half intro sets the stage for what I'm going to show you. So let's let Miss AOC, who considers herself a statesperson at this point, kick things off.
Mayor Adams, on January 31st of 2025, your attorneys met with federal prosecutors regarding the charges of bribery, campaign finance fraud, and conspiracy against you. Were you aware of this meeting prior to its occurrence?
Congresswoman, as I...
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry. As I stated to your colleagues, and I'm going to continue to state because we're asking the same question over and over again.
This isn't a question.
This case is in front of Judge Ho, and out of deference to
I understand, Mayor Adams.
Process, I'm going to
Mayor Adams, as your counsel, I'm sure will inform you. The only permissible way to refuse to answer a question during a congressional proceeding such as this is by pleading the Fifth Amendment. Deference to the judge is not a permissible excuse for not answering questions during a congressional hearing. Is it your intention to plead the Fifth today?
Councilwoman, you said the only way that you can't answer a question is to plead the Fifth. I am answering your question. I'm answering your question directly. That
you are not, Mayor Adams.
Okay, I believe I am.
I will ask it again. Were you aware of the meeting between your attorneys and federal prosecutors on January 31st? Answering this question is a yes or a no.
And I'm going to answer it again. Out of deference to Judge Ho with this case.
That is not an answer, Mayor Adams.
He is going to deal with the outcome of the case.
Mayor Adams, is it your intention to not comply with these questions?
It just made me laugh. I did answer. Well, no, it's not an answer. No, it's the answer. Man, these people are crazy, absolutely crazy. We all know what happened to Eric Adams. He took on the Biden administration, and they sicked the dogs on him. And so this hearing, which, by the way, you can't compel. You're a congresswoman, you can't do anything. If he took the fifth or he answered it however he wanted to, at this point, that's your answer. But the funniest thing I saw about that, I don't know if you guys noticed it, is she's talking to the guy and she's reading off, you can't take the Fifth Amendment because, you know, you have to do it. You can't take the Fifth. She's reading it. That's one of my biggest problems with some of these people. They are so dumb. They don't even know the processes. Unless somebody behind them hands them a document, and I'm talking this happens on the left and the right, oh yeah, you can't do this. They have to read. I mean, there's some that are really sharp, Byron Donalds, a bunch of them. But the rest of them are adults. So with that kickoff, let's jump in.
But one of the things that bothers me about all of this is the executive order of rescinding the sensitive locations. Why this is important. They basically want to do immigration enforcement and racial profiling and immigration enforcement that's race-based, because I'm at the Canadian border in Detroit. Do you know the majority of people coming down undocumented is Canadian? But guess what? It's still the brown folks that are overwhelming. ACLU did a study, is overwhelming the ones being targeted, detained, and deported.
It's total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. They are not making America safer again, and what they are doing is terrorizing immigrant families. That is...
This is incredible. They're terrorizing immigrant families. You mean they're going after criminals? They try to euphemize and say, you know, it's racist and you're going after the wrong people. They committed a crime. You're not terrorizing somebody by looking to arrest somebody because they committed a crime. There's crimes all the time. Is every police agency across the country terrorizing people that they arrest? I don't think so. And so this initial clip here is a bunch of Democrat theatrics.
What they are doing. Parents who are afraid to send their kids to school. Parents who are afraid that they won't come home again. Kids who are afraid to leave their houses. Refugees who have waited for years to come into this country.
You know there's a remedy for that, right? You can leave.
And our mayors are sitting here enduring this ridiculous hearing.
Without objection, so ordered. We've put it.
Oh, okay. If you haven't seen this one, this cue ball here, great exchange here. She gets really, really mad. Remember, these are Democrat politicians. This is the Democrat Party. It's why I tell you they are dead. They can't even discuss things with people. Enjoy this.
In the record.
I haven't entered it.
You have what?
Mr. Chair, can I have several articles. I need to enter them. Let me just go ahead with what the articles are. What they speak to.
What's the next article?
Let me proceed. Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born Americans commit more rape and murder than immigrants.
Listen, this trend of you all trying to get thrown out of committee so you can get on MSNBC is going to end. We're not going to put up with it.
This is my procedural right as a member of this committee
you can
to
go,
enter documents
you can go with
into the
Mr.
record.
Frost and Mr. Green.
I'm reclaiming my time.
That's what you want. No. Ms. Presley, I've been very accommodating to you. Mr. Superchats,
and I take particular umbrage as a survivor of sexual violence. I will enter into the record. This is my right. Thank you.
No. It is Mr. Supernyam.
No, you don't get it. No. Oh my God. You see this? I got the gavel. I can tell you to shut up. Oh my goodness. All they want to do is act out and be absolutely nuts. Oh my God. I was watching this and going, why didn't I do this live? I should have done this, carried this live. But then again, it went on for like 8 hours. But then again, I broadcast for 8, 9, 10 hours. But you won't have to go for 8 hours here. Just a few minutes.
Mr. Chair?
No, you know the process of unanimous consent. You are not recognized.
I have several articles to enter into the record.
Mr. Supernyam, if you don't go, we're going to recognize Mr. Timmons.
Mayor Johnston, are you willing to go to jail for violating federal law?
The city of Chicago complies with all laws.
Oh, I highly doubt that. Mayor Wu?
We are not violating federal law.
Mayor Wu, I have a last couple questions for you. Do you believe that ICE arresting a child rapist, quote, threatens everyone's safety, end quote?
Okay, I didn't want to stop. Nancy's on a roll here, but she's about to lay a big old bear trap. I mean, like, so you got to listen to what she says here.
Yes or no?
No.
Does ICE arresting a murderous MS-13 gang member threaten everyone's safety? Yes or no?
No.
I would like to hold up this quote of you where you say ICE's efforts actually threaten the safety of everyone, end quote, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. You're a hypocrite. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Topic. Mayor Johnson, I want to start with you. One of your first actions as mayor was establishing a deputy mayor for immigrant, migrant, and refugee rights. I want to ask you a series of questions. If you could answer with a yes or no answer, that'd be great. First of all, do you support allowing illegal aliens to obtain driver's licenses? Just yes or no?
So the city of Chicago has been a welcoming city for over 40 years.
Do you support illegals getting driver's license? And you wouldn't even have to have prefaced that by yes or no. It's a simple question. Do you allow this? Do you think it's okay? What do you got to think about? Oh, did these people not realize they'd be asked some of these questions? I don't even understand.
I'll take that as a yes. Next question.
And that's the policy that we will hold to.
Do you support tax dollars subsidizing or paying for the health care of illegal aliens?
I support investments in all residents of the people of Chicago, and that's what I do.
That's a yes as well. Do you support free or reduced college for illegal aliens?
Again, I support the investments of all residents of the people of Chicago.
That is a yes. Next question. Do you support allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections?
Again, I'm not over the jurisdiction of that type of law, but again, I'm committed to investing in all residents of the people of Chicago.
I'll take that as a yes. I've got an article from the...
I don't know why Tom Homan just wasn't sitting there at that point. Get him, just or let him talk, and then afterwards we'll just go ahead and fit him for a pair, okay? You heard, that was the mayor of Chicago. I'm fine with them voting. I'm fine with them spending your money. I'm fine with them getting a driver's license. I'm fine with them getting benefits. Of course you are. You're not paying for it. And so you're completely fine with these people coming in and getting everything.
Chicago Sun-Times, and I'll quote here briefly. Johnson proposed, among other things, that all residents, regardless of citizenship status, be able to vote for Chicago Board of Education members. Next question. Your website states, and this is your campaign website, quote, I will not stop fighting until abortion access is completely secure for people all over the country, end quote. Yes or no, do you support taxpayer-funded abortions for illegal aliens?
I support the reproductive rights of all people, all women.
That is a yes as well. Your mayoral transition website mentioned support for creating a Chicago Board of Education non-citizen advisory board. Again, yes or no, do you support appointing non-citizens to government advisory boards?
I was invited here today to discuss welcoming cities.
Yes or no?
I was invited here to discuss welcoming cities.
This is a yes or no.
If you're interested in asking me questions about the welcoming city, I'm happy to answer those questions.
No,
that was a good statement, actually, because why did you come? You knew you'd be talking to these Republicans, and they're going to ask you the hard questions that basically let everybody else know that you're violating the law. With no equivocation, you are going against the law and you're making taxpayers pay for it. And you're wondering why many people, again, 80-20 issue, this is really, you're hanging your hat on a 20 issue. 80-20 means 80% of people want something, 20% don't. He's hanging his hat on the 20%. Not a good career move.
To move on. As you know, President Trump, unlike the previous administration, has taken serious action to bring foreign criminal gangs to justice, to take our our border back and to restore public safety in our communities. He designated 8 transnational criminal organizations and cartels as foreign.
Let's clarify for America, Mayor Adams, Mayor Johnson, Mayor Johnson, and Mayor Wu, are you here today under the advice of counsel, and do you have counsel present? Yes or no?
I want to understand the question. Are you
here today under the advice of counsel, and do you have counsel present?
Do have counsel present. I'm here because we were requested to appear.
Did you consult with, did you have counsel prior to your appearance?
Yes, we did.
Thank you. This is not a trap question. We just want to clarify.
Okay.
You're here under the advice of counsel. Do you have counsel present?
Yes, sir. Counsel present here because I was invited.
Did you counsel before your trip here?
We do have counsel.
Get
I was
advice
here.
from your counsel?
Yes.
Okay, then you're under the advice of counsel.
Yes.
Mayor Wu, thank you. So just clarify for America, these mayors are all sanctuary city mayors. But the narrative is no longer comfortable because 3 months ago, we were at the tail end of 4 years of millions and millions of illegals coming into our country. It was out of control. The only thing that has happened since then is we had an election in November. And now we're not pulling the curtain back. We have ripped the curtain from the rods. We have revealed to America just how fast we could have secured our border if you had an executive that was willing to enforce the law. So now we're paying attention to our municipalities. And every one of them is lawyered up. They've changed their narrative. We got example after example. The mayor of Chicago, we must lead with and live by the promise of Sanctuary City. The mayor of Denver, willing to go to jail in defense of Sanctuary City policy. The list goes on. But the policies of these mayors and our previous president have consequences, real life consequences. I have a family here today, Mr. Chairman, who lost their beautiful loved one. This young man was killed by an illegal immigrant in Texas that never should have been in our country. He'll never be here to raise his daughter, Anne Marie, to love and cherish and honor and uphold his beautiful wife, Olivia. And you mayors have responsibility, not just to your communities and the citizens you just want to serve, but by extension to the entire republic. And let me clarify, I was a cop for a long time. To honor the jurisdictional authority of another law enforcement agency, you do it every day in your city. Guaranteed, every one of you, if you have an inmate in your city on city charges and that inmate has a felony warrant from a neighboring county or another county in your state, and that county contacts your city while you have that inmate in detention, and ask you to hold them for them to come pick it up upon release, guaranteed you release that inmate to the county.
If you look at their faces, you can tell these people don't care. I mean, maybe Mayor Adams, because of what they put him through, he's finally realized it. But Johnson from Colorado, I think it's Denver, and Brandon from Chicago, and Mayor Wu, she's completely gone. They don't care. They have decided to push their chips all in. They are so anti-American that they don't care what happens to them. Maybe because they're not real mayors. Maybe they were, whatever happened in the election and they were able to be put in the office and they're doing as they're told. But this is, and when I watch this, I'm like, what aren't you getting? Did you get caught with your pants down on November 5th? Did you really think Joe Biden or Kamala were going to win and everything would be copacetic, everything would be as planned? Bring as many in as possible, make the American taxpayer pay for it, keep getting money from the government. All these things. It was like they never knew the merry-go-round was going to stop. And now it's stopped abruptly for them, and they have no answers whatsoever. And meanwhile, Tom Homan, he's got a date with each year.
Over, or to your state police, but you're not doing it for ICE. And ICE is responsible to remove millions of criminal, hard-edged, criminal illegals from our country. And we've had enough. America's fed up with this betrayal of oath, and you'll be held accountable. One of you said you're willing to go to jail. We might give you that opportunity. Good mayor. One of my colleagues mentioned the children. I always want to talk to the children. Separation of children. At any given time in America, there's 750 to 850,000 American citizen parents of minor children incarcerated in our country. If you commit a felony in America, you get arrested and prosecuted and convicted and incarcerated, you can expect to be separated from your children. But let me say, there's a sunset to that separation, because when you do your time, you'll be released. You can return to your family. This young man will never return to his family, and he should have never been removed from his family. If we had a president and heads of our municipalities that were willing to uphold the federal law that exists. America is moving into a new era of enforcement of our own laws. Welcome to it. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Okay. You hear that man talk with that kind of fire. He's former law enforcement. He's probably been talking to Tom Homan quite a bit. He speaks for many of us. He's got the fire in his belly that many of us feel. It's time to just completely right this ship. And if it means extricating so many of these people and getting them out of the country, that's specifically what we got to do. And I'm tired of the whining. I'm tired, oh my goodness. Oh, they're going to separate them for the poor babies and all this kind of stuff. I'm sorry. Right over there, about 20 miles away, is the Palm Beach County Jail. And like he just said, there are a lot of parents in there, either women or men, but there's parents separated from their kids because of stuff that they did that committed a crime. These people committed a crime. You want us to look completely the other way. Oh, Barry, are you being heartless? No. I just know Americans can't commit crimes and not expect to be separated from your family. For all kinds of crimes. Some of which many people like that shouldn't be a crime. Okay, then legislate that. But right now, that particular crime is on the books, and you could go to jail for it. And it's a lot less than coming across the border. You entered a country without permission. And you thought it was fine by the millions, and you never thought anything was going to happen from it. And now a new president comes in, and he's enforcing the border, and he's enforcing finding the people who committed the crime by going across, and the Democrat mayors don't want to acknowledge that there's even been a crime. How can you be a mayor, a senator, a governor, when your first order of your job is to make sure that people are safe, make sure that they're protected, and you're letting in all these people and then telling everybody else they got to pay for it?
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair recognizes Dr. Fox from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Johnson, in the last 4 years, how much has Chicago spent on care for illegal aliens?
Thank you for that question, Congresswoman. So since 2022, since the governor of Texas began shipping...
Just tell me a number. I don't need a speech. Just tell me a number.
So since 2022, since the governor of Texas was shipping individuals to cities across this country, the city's budget, roughly 1% of the city's budget over the course of 4 years.
Mayor Johnston, the same.
How much?
Question, and I don't need a speech, just a number.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you, Congresswoman. It's 79 million over the last 2.5 years.
Mayor Adams, same question. How much has New York spent to care for illegal aliens?
Approximately $6.9 billion went out of our taxpayers' funds.
Mayor.
Almost $7 billion? $7 billion New Yorkers have had to absorb. Wow. 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 What was the other one from Colorado? 79 million?
Woo. Same question. How much has Boston spent to care for illegal aliens in the last 4 years?
We do not ask about immigration status and giving city services and providing that access, so we do not have a number.
Taxpayers have been bearing the brunt of the massive wave of illegal aliens who've entered the United States. The Biden administration seemingly declared taxpayers and hardworking Americans collateral damage in the pursuit of open borders. Again, Mayor Johnson, are NGOs providing services to illegal aliens in Chicago?
In accordance with the Welcoming City Ordinance, our sister agencies or city departments, we do not seek the status of any individual that is seeking service.
So in addition to not checking IDs for vote, you don't check IDs or any information on anyone who wants welfare. So if you don't check the status, which means you probably don't check the income, what would prevent somebody, Mayor Brandon, from working a job and still getting food stamps? What would prevent someone from, working under the table or even a regular job and getting all the different things that you offer the newcomers? Man, this is a scam of epic proportions. And the more they start peeling back the layers here so people can see, the more horrific it gets. They'll be like, what were you people doing for the last couple of years? You don't need DOGE. You need sheriffs and cops to take you people away. You've stolen from the American people in epic proportions. Unreal.
Mayor Johnston, are NGOs providing services to illegal aliens in Denver?
Thank you, ma'am. When folks arrive on the streets without food or resources or shelter, we do provide food or shelter regardless of where folks arrive from.
Mayor Adams, same question.
Yes, in combination of city agencies and nonprofits, we responded to the migrant asylum seekers humanitarian crisis that hit our city.
And Mayor Wu, I assume you don't know their status, but do you know if there are NGOs are providing services to people arriving in your city without any kind of documentation?
There are community organizations, many of them in Boston, who seek to serve all of our Boston residents.
Is the gentleman...
So, get this in your mind. There are Democrats who are actually out there openly bitching and complaining that Howard Lutnick and President Trump came up with a plan to get gold cards, whatever they're called, green cards, to people who want to pay $5 million. $5 million. People who are completely self-sufficient. People who want to open businesses. People that want to employ Americans. And you have a problem with that. Yet you're okay with bringing tens of millions of people into the country who have no way to provide for themselves. Does that make any sense? 10 million people, they don't have no place to live. They don't have anything to eat. They don't have clothing. They don't have they got nothing. We're going to take care of them. That's the way that's America. Well, what about these people, the people who want to pay $5 million? They're willing to come in? You're having a problem? How does any reasonable person look back and go, okay, this bad. These people self-sufficient. Oh, $5 million. We're selling spots in America. You're still selling spots. That's the only difference is these people are paying. Here you're giving it away. And it's not your money. If somebody comes in and they're willing to spend $5 million, that's revenue. That is revenue positive. There is money coming in, going into a coffer. This side, it's all outgoing, and the only way it's outgoing is it's from me, and it's from you, and you have no problem with that.
Arizona, Mr. Biggs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mayor Adams, you've agreed today. Sorry, over here. You agreed today that New York City is a sanctuary city. Is that right?
Based on the definitions, and there doesn't seem, Congressman, but there's now a uniform definition of that. But yes,
right. But that's what you've proclaimed, Mayor Johnston. You previously also declared that you're a sanctuary city. Mayor Johnson, you said that Chicago must lead with and live by the promise to be a sanctuary city. Mayor Wu, you said Boston Police and other departments cannot cooperate with ICE when it comes to detaining on civil warrants. Of course, I don't know what Mayor Johnston would define it, but I do know that the Honorable Mayor Johnson from Chicago, they call theirs a welcoming city ordinance, and we've got Ms. Wu, Mayor Wu, who's referred to hers as a safe city. That's really interesting to me. So when you are a sanctuary city, you put limits on how much you're willing to cooperate with federal agencies' efforts to remove illegal aliens. And your policies are then contravene federal law. You just do. Under Title 8 of the U.S. Code, it says a federal, state, or local government entity or official may not prohibit or in any way restrict any government entity or official from sending to or receiving from the Immigration Naturalization Service any information regarding the citizenship or immigration status of any individual. Yeah, so when I look at your guys' ordinances, and I got them all up here, and they're really interesting stuff, and Denver, I think you testified previously that you rely on the statutory section, am I right, of the state statute. So let's just review this.
I wanted to stop there so you guys can actually see this. There is an existing code, an existing federal code that defines what they are doing is specifically illegal. You can see it right there, 8 U.S.C. 1373A. Notwithstanding any other provision of federal, state, or local law, a federal, state, or local government entity, i.e. a mayor, or official from sending to or receiving from the Immigration or Naturalization Service information regarding the citizenship or immigration status, lawful or unlawful, of any individual. See, it was one thing when they were talking about the newcomers committing a crime. See, Tom Homan was about enforcing that. We're going to enforce and make sure that all these people who came across the border, we got to get them to leave because they broke a law. I hadn't heard this until I watched this hearing. That now everybody who facilitated that, every single one of these people who facilitated these people coming across and has harbored them and has decided they are not going to do anything to have them removed, they are violating a federal law. So all four of them up on the panel there, based upon what they've already testified to, could be let out in cuffs right there. Because they've openly admitted it.
There's a distinction, and some of you have made that. Mayor Johnson of Chicago made this repeatedly, and Mayor Wu of Boston did. There's a distinction between criminal warrant, and you say we cooperate on criminal warrant, but there's two levels of cooperation at least. There's a communication level, and there's a passing the person off. That's one level with criminal. But the civil level, this is what I want to talk about for a second, because all of these ordinances proscribe communication and transfer of someone where there's a civil warrant. Now, I know that all of you understand that a removal order is a civil order. And that means none of you and none of your agencies within your municipalities are communicating or passing over someone where there's an ICE removal detainer. So I don't care how many times, 1,226 or whatever it was in 7 years, I don't care how many times you do it. But if you're not doing it for civil orders, then you're allowing people who have a removal order, who've had due process, because that's how you get it. That's how you get a removal order. You're allowing them to stay in the country. You're in violation of this law right here. You are. You're in violation of that law right there. And you've got to...
You have to wonder how many of them knew that. Because the other predicate that they mentioned before all this began, or not before, but one of the Congress people asked him, have you been under advice of counsel? And I'm wondering to myself, do these people not realize the breadcrumbs and how it gets laid out? Because you've already established, hey, have you talked to counsel? And then he asked him again, did you talk about coming here? Yeah, so you're under the advice of counsel. Yes. You brought your counsel with you. Yes. So you've all lawyered up, right? Yeah. Did your lawyer tell you about this? You just told me you're under the advice of counsel. You've admitted to being under the advice of counsel. Maybe your counsel is sitting with you in regards to two of them. Did they not tell you about this? You might have wanted to know that before you stepped into this room.
Start realizing what your criminal culpability is on that. And that's really what we're talking about here. So, you don't think that's harboring perhaps, but let's take a look at that next statute, please. That next federal statute. In conducting investigations and hearings, immigration officers and administrative law judges shall have reasonable access to examine evidence of any person or entity being investigated. If you're holding someone back, even if it's under a civil warrant, because that's what you said you're not going to participate in, and you are preventing access to that person or evidence, you're in violation of this. You have criminal culpability under this. And you'll notice there's no mens rea requirement here. This is it. Every one of you is exposed to criminal culpability here. That's the reality of it. Let's do the next one. Any person who knowing that a person is an alien, knowing or in reckless disregard, now you got a culpable mental state here, of the fact that an alien has come to, entered, or remains in the United States in violation of law, conceals, harbors, or shields from detection, or attempts to conceal, harbor, or shield from detection, such alien in any place. You'll notice it doesn't make a distinction that all of y'all want to make of criminal warrants versus civil. You're all in violation of all three of these statutes. You got criminal culpability. I yield back.
All right, so he said something. There's a term that I want to go ahead and explain. He said mens rea. And mens rea, I'm not going to get too into weeds from a legal perspective, but mens rea is proving intent. I didn't mean to do that. And so sometimes a prosecutor will have to prove that you had to intent. Like the difference between manslaughter and murder is I killed him, but I didn't mean to kill him. Murder, I intended to kill him, and I killed him. Manslaughter, it just happened. Okay, I'm sorry. Different. Mens rea, you have to prove the intent. He's like, I don't even need that. and basically, he doesn't need it because it's stated right there. It is a crime. Doesn't say it could be. It might be. It is a crime. You lawyers can explain it to people who may want to know deeper. But in any event, and I saw it in a couple of the comments here, and a couple of the comments were saying something that's being reiterated everywhere, is we know they broke the law. They know they've broken the law. There's no doubt the law's been broken. Why is nobody getting arrested? The only person on that panel who was indicted was Eric Adams because he didn't want to play ball with Biden. They had no problem sicking the dogs on him. None whatsoever. We're gonna indict you criminally. But yet the other ones, because they played ball and did what they were supposed to, they were good puppies, They don't face any prosecution whatsoever. No mugshots, no handcuffs, nothing. So this is where the frustration comes with, hold on, let me just check something. I saw, let me just make sure here. That's still okay. This is where the frustration is with everybody with Pam Bondi. And I'm not going to go down that road right now because let's not, it's very touchy. But the cake is sitting there waiting to be eaten. There's no reason to bake the cake. It's on the shelf. They're right there. Just carve it up and eat it. These people went into this hearing, admitted, yeah, we broke the law. Yep, and we spent the money. Yeah, well, we did it all. We don't care. And Andy Bix is like, here's the statute. You all broke the law. What usually happens after that? Well, somebody comes up and says, hey, can you put your hands behind your back, please? And we're not seeing any of that. I'm not here to cast aspersions on Pam Bondi. I love what she's done here in the state of Florida. I'm not here to cast aspersions on Kash Patel. And maybe the answer to this question, the one answer, is there's so much. I mean, at this point, we have to wonder, and we're talking about Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice and everything. It's like, oh my God, we have a veritable poop mountain sitting in front of us of crime. It's just never ending. And it would almost be at this point, President Trump will be coming up, so we see that real soon. It's almost at this point that you sit there and go, okay, can we make a hierarchy? Maybe that's what they're doing in the Department of Justice. Let's draw a map. Who's up here? Is Mayor Adams and Mayor Johnson and Mayor Wu, where are they? Okay, they're way down here because we got to find out who's stealing all this money. Epstein, I don't even know, to tell you the truth at this point. I'm being completely honest with you, even though some of you have clamored for it. I don't even know where on that list Epstein falls. Because we don't even know what that poop mountain must look like right now. If you're finding hundreds of billions of dollars being stolen from the American people, where do you begin? I'm like, okay, all right, that one. I mean, can you imagine? And this is where I'm going to give Pam Bondi a complete slack here. I couldn't even imagine walking into an office and saying, you got all these unprosecuted crimes. Here you go. I'm like, Epstein, he's dead, okay? Can I go with the stuff that matters right now? And I couldn't even imagine. I could compel you guys to think to yourselves, where would you begin? How do you prioritize what we've seen in just the last month and a half? And so we're looking at these idiots. Where would we put them? We need like 10 Pam Bondis. She needs to clone herself. We need a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of staff and a whole lot of jail cells, because where do you begin? I heard people talking yesterday about there's more news about the guy who took the shot at Trump, and how he may have had accomplices, and how might have been Okay, where does that fall? Everybody, including myself, want to see people locked up. I'm just wondering out loud to you, who's at the top of that list? When you walk in and go, okay, we got gazillion dollars flying out the door, we got kids being trafficked, we got drugs, and we got this, and who's at the top? Who is our Lex Luthor? Who is the Lex Luthor that they need to be looking at this point? And I'm like, there's a whole bunch of them. We don't even know. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole lot. So in that regard, I can't sink my teeth into her right now, because I'm putting empathy and going, okay, I've been here a couple of weeks and I'm finding out I'm undressing all this stuff and going, oh my God. And you got to put a game plan together. Because if you pull this Jenga piece out, what happens? Do I lose all these? Or do I start here and come up? And everything else. Something happened last night. Don't know if you guys know it. But Sebastian Gorka was on Jesse Waters' show. I don't know if you guys saw this. I was eating dinner and talking to Robin, and Sebastian Gorka came on. She's like, I didn't even know he was in the administration. Yeah, he's the special assistant for the something. CIA, NSA, something. And they were talking about this guy that they caught, the mastermind of Abbeygate, right? And they're showing, he's just talking. He didn't even mention her or Cash. And he's talking. We caught him. And I know some people are disputing whether or not he is the mastermind. But anyway, they caught the guy. They're bringing him back. They transferred him all the way back from Pakistan. And they're doing all this stuff. And they're showing the plane. And I'm like, look who's on the plane, Robin. And she's like, is that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi? Yeah. There was a picture of this guy on the plane. And they're doing all the stuff. And they're getting ready to take him. And on that plane were Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. I'm like, none of us knew she went to Pakistan. None of us knew she was out there trying to find this mass murdering guy who blew up those soldiers. He was up here, I guess. He was up here where President Trump said, I want him. Go get him. Hold all this other stuff. These people ain't going anywhere. Go get Abadaba Uba and get him. I want you, if you have a DVR, if not, maybe tonight I'll grab that section just to show you. But I can't tell you what timestamp it is, but during the Jesse Waters show from last night, he's talking to Gorka, and as he's talking to him, he's describing how they let the trap and how they sent the special ops guys over to take him down and everything. And when they took him down, there's a picture on the plane. And when you look at the picture on the plane, you're going to see none other than Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. This operation didn't happen in a bubble. It wasn't like one morning she got a call and said, hey, you want to go to Pakistan with me? We got some stuff to do over in Pakistan. Let's go get Abu Dhabi. Okay, let me drop everything. No. This had to have been coordinated. They had to have been in a special ops room and saying, okay, here's where the special ops guys are going to go. They're going to go kicking doors here. What's this team? And so she obviously, just by deducing, you look back and go, oh, that's what she's been working on. That's what she's been working on. And then as Sebastian Gorka is talking, he told, not on her, didn't even really mention her. He basically said that it was one of President Trump's, and I'll quote the word, priorities. And it was at that moment that I went, okay, sit back, just what? We don't even know what's happening. Pam Bondi, I'm sorry I question you because you're over in Pakistan bringing back mass murderers. The public has no idea just how busy our leaders are working. Yep, exactly. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll play it tonight because it's absolutely incredible how much stuff is being done. Pam Bondi is working as well as Patel, and he actually said it. Why are they not in jail? Well, they answer to your question, why are they not in jail? They had a higher priority. Now that's what we're saying, because somebody is in jail. Somebody is in jail as we speak, and that person is whatever his name was, Abu Dhabi, who blew up 13 soldiers in Abbeygate, and they got him. So, and if the president decided that was a priority, then that was the priority. So we're waiting for President Trump. It says he'll be doing a remark soon, so we'll cut to that as soon as possible. Let me get back to this farce of a hearing.
You release him to the streets. Did you release him to the streets? You release him to ICE?
What we do, sir, is we release him from our county jail, and we coordinate with ICE on that release time and release date so that ICE can come and pick them up from that location.
Pick them up where? In the parking lot?
Yes, sir. They're on the facility
Guess
property.
what happened in the parking lot?
I know, sir. I've reviewed the video. So I looked at it. I've talked to the sheriff last night.
One of the ICE officers got assaulted, didn't he?
I reviewed.
Okay, so if you haven't seen that video, there's so much stuff. It's like a fire hose every morning when I get ready for these shows. And people are like, hey, can you shorten the show? Otherwise I won't cover anything. Anyway, guy gets out of jail because the Colorado police won't tell the feds that the guy's getting out of jail. Feds found out, and they're stalking the front door of the courthouse. And all of a sudden, the perp walks out the front door, free as can be. Walks down to the steps to where he gets into public property because the state won't help. And all of a sudden, they converge. They're going to take this guy down. He's gone. Got to get him out. And there's like 15 ICE or not even sure what it would be. I guess it would be ICE agents chasing the guy. And they got to tackle him. And each one of those guys at that point is in danger because this guy is not handcuffed. He's running away. He's swinging at people. And it all could have been averted if you merely said, yeah, we've got Rodrigo right here. Come pick him up. That's all you had to do. You wouldn't have caused the problem of the ICE agents having to chase the guy downstairs and run around in the woods and fight and everything else. He's going to get caught. He's not going anywhere. They had a dragnet out there. You put his life in danger. Imagine that. You think you're helping the guy and you let him out and the sharks are waiting and he's a little fish because there's too many sharks. He could have got hurt. He could have got offed. But you thought you were protecting him. What an idiot.
The video,
They had to tase the guy, didn't they?
Would you like me to answer, sir?
No, I'd like you to answer. Did they tase him?
I know that there were 6 officers that had multiple tasers. I saw the
So they had
on
6
video.
officers. If you keep him in the facility and they come in the facility and get him, does it take 6 officers? Probably takes 2, doesn't it?
So we've been doing these, as I mentioned, 1,226 times. This is the first time I've been made aware of there's been an incident like this. So I reached out to ICE after I saw the video. I've coordinated with their team and offered to sit down and see if their procedures we can change.
It's a simple
make sure
question.
this works smoothly.
It's a simple question. You can release him in the parking lot, give ICE 1 hour notice, and they got to send 6 officers to arrest this guy. Or you can say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold him. You come in and bring 2 officers in, and you turn him over there. Why not do it that way?
We have a city ordinance.
You know why you don't do it that way?
We have a city ordinance that governs.
Because you're a sanctuary city. This is the whole.
And it's not sanctuary. I mean, I want you to picture this. The guy's in jail. The Colorado State Police or whatever court system says, yeah, you're free to go because, we love you. We love the, you newcomers. But there's a warrant. Yeah, that's okay. That's their warrant. So at that point, when you take off the cuffs and you tell Rodrigo he can leave, he's in danger. Tell me how, if you were sanctuary city, you're putting this man, forget the police, how you're putting this man you hold dear in danger if you are a sanctuary city. See, you just want to be able to say, I didn't do it. I see he got broken. I see what the ICE guys did to him. Oh, he started fighting and he grabbed one of the ICE guys' guns and they had to kill him. Oh, well, we did what we could. These people are sick. That's somebody knowingly putting somebody's life in danger. And they won't even admit that. There's some sort of disconnect that they are so against working with the federal government that the people that they consider that they're giving sanctuary to, they could be sending them to their death. Those of you in law enforcement know what I'm talking about. This guy is a known gang member, has done all kinds of crimes. He's not willingly going to go, oh, okay, here you go, you got me. No, he's going to fight. And luckily they tased him and they tackled him and they got him in custody. But all it would have taken is for him to have, and they knew he wasn't armed because from the time he walked down the stairs, he didn't have time to go see anybody. But what if he just rolled around with one of the ICE agents and he pulled their weapon? They don't even think. They don't think long term that you're putting the people you covet in danger.
Gonzalez.
Thank you, Congressman. He is a individual that was released from the county jail on Friday in the city and county of Denver.
That's all you know about him?
I do know that he was facing charges that the
Venezuelan gang member arrested by Border Patrol on September 20th, 2023, released into the country by the Biden administration. A few months later, he's arrested in your city, charged with aggravated assault. On March 11th, 2024, he's charged with motor vehicle theft, stole a car, and then on March 20th, 2024, Mr. Gonzalez is charged with felony menacing. 6 days after that last charge, ICE sends you a detainer, which includes an administrative warrant. Basically, it says if you're going to release this bad guy, this gang member who allegedly stole a car, menaced people, and assaulted people, give us a 48-hour heads up. Is that right? That refresh your memory?
I do know about the detainer request. I do know that we provided a notification of release.
What kind of notice did you give ICE when you released him?
We gave him notification. I'm not sure how long in advance it was. I do know that. 1 hour. I do know that there was
1 hour notice, and you released him 5 days ago, right? Why not give him more heads up? Actually, let's put the slide up. Let's see what it says here. But let's put the slide up. This is what the Denver Sheriff's Department, it's kind of hard to see, so I'll read it. It says, Denver Sheriff Department, ICE notification being released to the streets. I simply said, just release him to us. You release him to the streets. Why not release him to ICE?
Thank you. What we've done, and we do this regularly, we've done 1,226 of these, is we...
Did he say 1,226? Did he just say, we released 1,200 of the people who we put in jail for doing all kinds of crimes? Here you go. And didn't have a problem. Yeah, we've done this 1,200 times. We're kind of used to it. It kind of works for us. I can't with these Democrats.
Notify us.
I'm asking about one. I'm not asking about the 1,200. I'm asking about Mr. Abraham Gonzalez, who's a gang member from Venezuela, stole a car, assaulted someone. You had him in your custody for how long?
I know that we released
345 days you had him in custody. And I said, hey, can you give us 48 hours heads up?
I don't know.
You gave him 1 hour notice.
Mr. Congressman, we notified them of release. There were 6 ICE agents present when he was released, so they had enough time to respond and to be present.
Respond where?
To the jail where we released him from. So we released him we notified them of the...
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't cut the video. But you can imagine, many of you obviously have been to courthouses. so this guy is coming down the stairs, and that's why Jim Jordan asked me, how did you release him? Oh, you just let him go. Okay, so this guy's coming down the stairs, and he sees 6 cops waiting for him. What do you think happens next? I'm telling you, do these people really think he's like, okay, I got out of jail now. Let me walk down here and let these guys cuff me. That's pretty much what you think a criminal's going to do, right? No, they're going to fight for their lives. And he's like, okay, well, I don't have to run that far, get in the woods or something. Let me just run down these stairs real quick and run away. And the cops are running down the street trying to catch him. And this guy here is trying to provide some reason why that's okay.
This time, when we notify them of release, they come to the jail facility to pick them up.
Why didn't you say that's not what you said? You said you release him to the streets. Did you release him to the streets? You release him to ICE?
What we do, sir...
I'm sorry for stopping it again. He just did exactly what I've been telling you to do. When you're talking to a liberal, let them talk, and then just use their own words against them, because most of the time they're lying, and they don't realize that they're going to get caught in the lie. He just asked him, what'd you do? I released him to the street. Blah, blah, blah. You just told me you released him to the street. They can't. It's like a box, and they don't know what to do. They exist on lies and deception. That is the entirety of the Democrat Party right now. Oh, you're gonna lose your Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security if you vote for this guy. You just make shit up.
We release him from our county jail, and we coordinate with ICE on that release time and release date so that ICE can come and pick them up from that location.
Pick them up where? In the parking lot?
Yes, sir. They're on the facility property.
Yes, what happened in the parking lot?
I know, sir. I've reviewed the video. So I looked at it. I've talked to the sheriff last night.
One of the ICE officers got assaulted, didn't he?
I reviewed the video,
They had to tase the guy, didn't they?
Would you like me to answer, sir?
No, I'd like you to answer, did they tase him?
I know that there were 6 officers that had multiple tasers. I saw the
So they had
on
6
video.
officers. If you keep him in the facility and they come in the facility and get him, does it take 6 officers? Probably takes 2, doesn't it?
So we've been doing these, as I mentioned, 1,226 times. This is the first time I've been made aware of there's been an incident like this. So I reached out to ICE after I saw the video. I've coordinated with their team and offered to sit down and see if there are procedures we can change.
It's a simple
make sure
question.
this works smoothly.
It's a simple question. You can release him in the parking lot, give ICE 1 hour notice, and they got to send 6 officers to arrest this guy. Or you can say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold him. You come in and bring 2 officers in, and you turn him over there. Why not do it that way?
We have a city
You
ordinance.
know why you don't do it that way?
We have a city ordinance that
Because you're a
governs.
sanctuary city. This is the whole point.
No, sir, I disagree with you.
Oh, okay.
Because
I didn't loop that. Jim Jordan was trying to make a point, and he asked the guy the question, and he can't get an answer from him. His answer is, well, we have a city ordinance. That's not what he asked you. What he asked you was, well, doesn't it make sense for both the government and the perp to make sure there's nothing wrong and there's nobody put in harm's way, to pick up the phone and say, come get Abraham Gonzalez, whatever the guy's name was? Doesn't that make sense as a human being? You're a mayor. I assume you make decisions every single day about the people who live in Denver. Do you not think to yourself, okay, how should we manage this? And the answer to that question is very simple. The reason why the other 1,225 didn't have a problem, because Biden was the president, and there weren't 6 guys out in the parking lot. And it didn't matter whether you noticed them an hour ago or 48 hours, they weren't coming. And that's the answer to the question, and he'll never say it, but we never had to worry about it. That's the answer. 1,224 other times, that's the first time I've ever heard of a problem. That's because the only time the ICE came to look for this guy. They were completely caught with their pants down, and they don't know what to do.
I'll tell you why. If you talk about sanctuary as a definition of shielding people from law enforcement, we do not do that. What we do is provide services. In this context, what we did is we coordinated the release.
An officer got assaulted because of your policy, which says we're going to release him to, in your words, not mine, to the streets. They have to arrest him in the parking lot. They bring 6 officers when they could have had 1 or 2 just come in your facility, in the jail, and take the guy there. But you won't do it that way.
I've seen the video. I've reached out to ICE. I've offered to sit down and coordinate on strategies. If we need to make adjustments to what we do on releases, we'll do that. This is the first time in the 1,226 releases I've
I read your written testimony last night. I read your written testimony last night. 4.5 pages. And you used the word safe, safer, or safety 13 times. Talking about my job is to protect the safety of the people in Denver. We prioritizing making sure everyone in our community is safe. That's a lie. Because it was not safer for the ICE agents who are part of your community. No way was it safer. The safest thing to do is to say, ICE, we got him in custody. Come here, we're releasing. We held him 345 days. We can't hold him a second longer. We can't wait for you to come inside the building. We got to let him go, so you have to arrest him in the parking lot. That is how stupid sanctuary policies are and what they mean to the community that you put at risk and to the ICE officers ICE officer who was assaulted, and they had to use a taser on the. It's not good.
Mr. Chairman.
Immigration, do you have a round number?
Over the last couple of years, on all newcomers, whatever their status was, it's around 79 million since 2022.
79 million. Mayor Johnson, Chicago. How much has the city of Chicago spent on illegal immigration?
If you're referring to the 2022 up to 2024 of the buses coming from Texas, roughly the same percentage of the state of Texas, about 1% of our overall budget.
What is that? Because I don't have the city's budget in front of me. Numbers.
It's 1%, and if you want the actual calculation, we can make sure someone...
You're the mayor.
You're the mayor of Chicago, and you came to the hearing with this 1% BS, and you don't know what your budget is for your city? How is that possible?
You don't have the math in front of you?
It's 1% of the overall budget over the last 4 years.
That's why you're a failing mayor.
Which is
Mayor
the same
Adams,
number that
how
was
much did
sent
the city
from
of
us
New York
from the
actually
state
spend
of
on
Texas.
illegal immigration? Mayor Johnson, I already asked you, you don't have a hard number. And if you don't have a hard number, you're not running your city well. Mayor Adams, how much did the city of New York actually spend on illegal immigration?
$6.9 billion of taxpayers' dollars.
$6.9 billion of taxpayer money on a problem that was fostered on the American people. Mayor Wu, in the city of Boston, how much did you spend?
We don't ask about immigration status and delivering city
You don't
services,
ask
so
about
we
how
don't
much
have
money
that
the city
number.
of Boston has spent on illegal immigration?
We
Are
don't
you out of your
distinguish
mind?
between immigration status.
Do you
as
manage
part
your
of our
budget
city
or not,
policies.
Mayor Wu?
That is how we keep our
Mayor
city
Wu, do
safe.
you manage
We
your
have
budget or
the
not?
numbers to
I'm sorry. I've seen a couple of comments where people are like, Barry, this isn't a laughing matter. That's because I don't want to cry. I'm watching some of the biggest cities in our country. And understand, there are bigger cities. I mean, San Francisco, Los Angeles. And you're just saying to yourself, oh my God, how did these incompetent criminal people get elected to office? There's no way I can believe that we had fair elections when I hear these people talk. And then you see somebody like Jasmine Crockett and AOC, and you have to say to yourself, hey man, okay, let's go ahead. President Trump is on. We'll come back to this. Okay.
Were foreign, supposedly, and who has the biggest white shoe law firm in Pennsylvania, even though they don't live in necessarily a white shoe area. What's that all about? Is law, the law firm. The other one had 7 or 6 cell phones, and I don't have 6 cell phones. And why would somebody have 6 cell phones? So we're going to be releasing a report on that soon, Peter.
But based on what you're saying, the lack of information and the data points that you just gave, does that make you think that there's some part of that there's some bigger?
It could be. Well, it makes other people think that. It makes me think it a little bit too. I say, when you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious. And then on the second assassin, you had, and by the way, I have to tell you, Secret Service did a great job on that by spotting him. But on the second one, he had 6 cell phones. That's a lot of cell phones. And a couple of them had some strange markings on them. So, yeah, I want to find out, and I would be willing to release it. I mean, maybe there's a reason that we shouldn't, so I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis, but yeah, I would be very willing to release that. I'd like to see it. I want to see it myself. Not only I want to see that one myself.
That was all right. So President Trump says that he wants to, if he is able to make it public, the updates that he will be receiving in a report form on his attempted assassinations. And so we still await for the tape playback. It looks like it could be coming up at any moment. We are now just being told that the press has now left the Oval Office, so that tape should be coming back to us, and we'll be bringing it to you here online.
All right, so as you heard, they're doing the full tape. That was just an excerpt. It sounds like it's going to be a good one, so stick around. I mean, because if he's talking about his assassins and everything else, in addition to the executive orders, we're probably looking at some good content coming up right here very shortly. So back to this farce about these mayors.
I manage my budget. I have a AAA bond rating dating back 10 years.
So to the city of Boston,
budget.
just understand that your mayor does not care how much of your resources she has spent on people who are not citizens
The city of
the
Boston
city of
is
Boston.
sick of having
I'm reclaiming
people
my
outside
time.
Boston
Mr.
telling
Bear,
us what
Mr.
we
Bear, I
do.
have a question for you because I understand.
Whoa. The city of Boston is sick of people outside of Boston telling us what to do. Are you sick of taking our money? Byron, my brother, you're going to be our next governor probably. That would have been a great retort right then and there. It's like, wait a second. If you want to be that obstinate and ignorant and tell us we shouldn't even ask about you, then do it yourself. Stop taking any federal money. Done. Have it. Y'all voted for it. Deal with it. You got to be able to say that back to these people. Oh, it's none of your business what goes on up here in Boston. What goes on in Boston stays in Boston. Oh, okay. Don't ask for any money. Deal with it yourself. And by the way, Tom Homan is over here and he wants to talk to you. Like I was saying before President Trump interrupted me, Can you even believe that these people were elected honestly? I'm from Connecticut, and I know there's a lot of bat poop crazy in the government up there. I used to go to, basically, I lived in Boston and New York every other weekend, one of the two cities I ended up being in. And Boston is a beautiful town. Red Sox, I know you can't see it, but behind my shoulder is a Red Sox hat. I'm a Red Sox fan. Been a Red Sox fan since I was this big. Loved going to Boston. Loved the seafood. Everything about Boston. Love it. And no, it's not racist. I've been there, okay? A lot. Can you really, with in your heart of heart and using your mind, can you really believe that these people really got elected? I can't. I can't at all. And we're waiting for the tape rollback, so let's continue.
Cato's perspective when it comes to illegal immigration. I understand that the Cato Institute for a long time has had a standard of actually having open immigration into the United States. Generally speaking, I don't want to get into specifics.
We support legal immigration. We want immigration to be legal.
So let me ask you this question, because one of the great libertarians of the modern era, Milton Friedman, famously said, you can either have open borders or a welfare state, but you have to choose. Mr. Beer, what do you choose?
Milton Friedman said he wanted to allow illegal immigration to continue. I disagree with Milton Friedman's position on that. We should have legal immigration and build a wall around the welfare state, not around the country. That's in the best interest of taxpayers.
And I would argue that under the current system where you have sanctuary cities popping up, it is not possible to build that wall. So America has to choose. Mr. Beer, you're done. America has to choose between securing our nation or protecting the taxpayer. I choose secure the nation. I yield back.
Don't believe that banning the transfer of individuals into ICE custody for the purpose of civil immigration enforcement encourages illegal immigration into Chicago. Or how about agencies, or agents not being able to stop, arrest, or detain individuals based solely on their immigration status or administrative warrant?
So we comply with all laws, local, state, and federal.
To me, after this line of questioning, it's very clear that these policies that you have all implicated are active and alive and well in your cities, are in direct violation with U.S. Title 8 Code subsection 1324, and it is a federal offense. But you all speak about a broken immigration.
All right, President Trump is signing.
Notice that on people coming in and drugs, and we've made tremendous progress on both.
President Trump, what's your thought about why the markets are so spooked? Do you think they don't like the tariffs, or do they not like the uncertainty with some of the changes and the carve-outs?
Well, a lot of them are globalist countries and companies that won't be doing as well because we're taking back things that have been taken from us many years ago. We've been treated very unfairly as a country. We protect everybody. We do everything for all these countries. And a lot of these are globalist in nature. You know, they have, if you're outside of the United States, it's going to be a little bit different. We just weren't treated right. We were ripped off as a country. I've been saying it for a long time. And I did it to a certain extent in the first administration, but with COVID coming in, we had to focus on that toward the end. But we had the greatest economy in history in the first administration, and I think we'll do even better now. But this is something that we have to do. There'll always be a little short-term interruption. I don't think it's going to be big, but the countries and companies that have been ripping us aren't particularly happy with what I'm doing. But the United States will be very happy. And, you know, our farmers are going to be very happy. And again, there'll be disruption. But in the end, I said it before with China, we signed an unbelievable deal with China, $50 billion in purchases, and we're doing great. Biden, however, when he came in, they never enforced that deal. So that's the only thing that basically you have globalist companies that have been ripping us off that won't be able to rip us off any longer. I think that's what the big charge is.
Have you been influenced, some of these exemptions that have been announced and some of these temporary delays, have you been influenced in those decisions because of the market reaction?
Well, there are no delays at all. No, nothing to do with the market. I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here. Now, these are countries and companies, foreign companies that have been ripping us off, and no president did anything about it until I came along, and then I did a lot about it. You know, we took in tariffs from China $600 billion. Nobody else took in 10 cents from China. They never did. But when COVID came along, we had to focus on COVID. We did a great job. We got rid of that. We ended up handing over with a market that was higher than it was previous to COVID coming in. But this is very much about companies and countries that have ripped off this country, our beloved USA, and they're not going to be ripping us off anymore. So, you know, I think that has an impact on the market.
Mr. President. Sir, this is a slate of nominees that's been prepared by the Presidential Personnel Office. It includes a number of sub-cabinet level appointments, a number of your ambassadors that have been previously announced, and also, crucially, given the administration's concerted effort to focus on violent crime, it includes a number of U.S. attorneys in major cities that have real crime problems.
Okay. Some very good people, too.
Thank you, sir. And then we have a number of ceremonial proclamations that Lindsay Halligan is going to.
So two very special proclamations, the first of which is a proclamation that proclaims March 2025 as Women's History Month in honor of all the wonderful women in your administration, all the wonderful women in America, and in honor of everything you've done for women and this administration has done for women in just, what, a month and a half? So.
Yeah, we've done a lot, and women have done a lot for us, right? This is an honor. We have a wonderful woman here, Maria Bartiromo.
Thank you so much.
Nice to have you, Maria.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thanks for all that you're doing for women.
Thank you. She's going to do an interview of me later. Maybe I shouldn't do this interview. I should be like Biden, not do any interviews. That's great. Women, we love you.
We love you too, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Liz.
So the second one is a proclamation proclaiming March 2025 as Irish American Heritage Month in honor of, well, to commemorate our amazing friendship between America and Ireland, and to just honor all of the Irish Americans. And I'm a little bit biased because I'm American and Irish, but
Yeah, well, great people. Yeah, great
St.
people.
Patrick's Day is coming up as well.
And they voted for me in heavy numbers, so I like them even now. You have to like it. You know, you're not supposed to, but you have to like that. All right. So for the Irish American people, proclamation. Thanks, Lindsay.
Mr. President, your envoy, Steve Witkoff, told us a little while ago that if Hamas does not release hostages, that the U.S. and Israel could take some action. What does that mean in your eyes? Is that military action? Would you join strikes with Israel?
Well, you're going to find out. I had the honor of spending a lot of time yesterday with quite a few of the people that we got out, and I can't believe how badly treated they were, really badly treated. Stories that you wouldn't even believe. Some of it was documented, some of it was so bad you couldn't really, I don't think you can put it on. And it's a shame. And they said one thing, that they have 59 hostages, of which many of them are killed. They want to know if we could just continue. They said without us, look, Biden wasn't able to get anybody out. We came along and they started releasing. But we have 59 left, of which 24 are living. The rest are dead. And I put out a statement. It's sort of self-explanatory, I think. But somebody's going to have to get a lot rougher than they're getting. It's a shame. And those 24 that are living, because they were with them just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, depending on when they got out. But they said they're in very bad shape.
You spoke today with your cabinet members and Elon Musk.
I did.
What did you tell them in regards to Elon Musk and his authorities to carry out actions?
We had a great meeting. We had Elon and we had some of the representatives for the business reps. We also had most of the cabinet members, not all of them, It doesn't really pertain to all of them, but many of them. And I thought it was a really good meeting. It was about cutting because everybody knows the country's way out of control in terms of the number of people. We have many people that don't work. We have many people probably that aren't even living that are getting checks. And we're finding all of that out, and it's being reported. We're going to save hundreds of billions of dollars. We've already saved a lot. And parts of it are contracts that are expired that we're paying on. Many crazy things that, you can see it happening. It shouldn't happen, but you can see it happening. You see a lot of it being put out. But the other thing I think most important for today, I want the cabinet members to keep good people. I don't want to see a big cut where a lot of good people are cut. I want the cabinet members to keep the good people, and the people that aren't doing a good job, that are unreliable, don't show up to work, etc., those people can be cut. So I had a meeting, and I said, I want the cabinet members go first, keep all the people you want, everybody that you need. And it would be better if they were there for 2 years instead of 2 weeks, because in 2 years they'll know the people better. But I want them to do the best job they can. When we have good people, that's precious. That's very important. And we want them to keep the good people. And so we're going to be watching them, and Elon and the group are going to be watching them. And if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
So, Mr. President, is that a reflection that you think DOGE and Elon Musk have been moving too quickly?
No, I think they've done an amazing job. They've done an amazing job, and look at what they found. I read it the other night in the speech. I mean, they found these things where billions of dollars has been poured down the drain to things. That's not about people. That's about contracts where billions and billions of dollars was just thrown out the window. It probably got kickbacks. I'm sure there were tremendous kickbacks for the people that authorized those contracts. But no, Elon has been really teaching everybody about the numbers that you can do. But what I want is I want the numbers, but I also want to keep the good people. We want to get rid of the people that aren't working, that aren't showing up, and have a lot of problems. And so they're working together with Elon. And I think we're doing a really great job. We're cutting it down. We have to for the sake of our country. You can't have that kind of fat. It's bloat, and like nobody's ever seen before. Where you need 20,000 and they have 120,000 people. And you just don't need that many. And it happens with companies, and it happens with governments, I guess. You could go to a lot of governments, you'd see the same thing. But we're trying to get it down. We want to be able, next year, we could balance the budget. I think there's a good chance we could balance the budget next year. We have a lot of good things happening. Plus, we have a lot of revenue things happening, like today with the shipbuilding. And this gentleman behind me is going to create a lot of jobs. And he's about the biggest there is in the world. We had the biggest chip maker in the world here a few days ago. He's going to be spending $200 billion on building plants. We're not giving them any money to build it either. It's that chip act is ridiculous, where the Biden thing, where they give billions of dollars to people that have nothing but money. They're not going to spend that money. They're just taking that money. We're giving nothing. They're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs, and they're opening up big. So, but with respect to people, I said, I want to cut the people, but I want to keep the good people.
President, tariffs, sir, can you walk us through the next steps on this? Steel and aluminum tariffs are due to kick in next week on Canada, Mexico, and every other country. Are those going to be modified as well?
No, those aren't modified. Those are happening next week. And the big one will be on April 2nd, when reciprocal tariffs. So if India or China or any of the countries that really, India is a very high tariff nation. I'll tell you what's a high tariff nation is Canada. Canada charges us 250% for our milk product and other product, and a tremendous tariff on lumber and things as such. And yet we don't need their lumber. We have more lumber than they do. We don't need Canada's lumber. So what I'm doing is I'll be signing an executive order freeing up our forests so that we're allowed to take down trees and make a lot of money and then reharvest trees. Also, we're cutting fire divides. A fire divide is a 50-yard to 70-yard swath where the trees can't, it's long enough so trees don't burn forever until you can get them out. And those trees can be sold and made a lot of money with. So But we'll be doing that. We don't need trees from Canada. We don't need cars from Canada. We don't need energy from Canada. We don't need anything from Canada. So when we can be self-sustaining, which is in most things. Look, we have more oil and gas than anybody. Our forests are massive forests. We're just not allowed to use them because of the environmental lunatics that stopped us. So I'm going to be freeing that up very shortly so that we don't have to go to other countries to buy lumber. You know, why should we be buying lumber from other countries, paying tariffs, paying big prices, extraordinary prices, and we have lumber. We have the best lumber. Go ahead.
And this USMCA exemption you're essentially announcing today for this 1 month?
It's just a modification, short term, because I didn't want to hurt the American. It would have hurt the American car companies if I did that.
Would you consider the same sort of exemption or pause for the auto tariffs you're talking about next month?
We're not looking at that, no. No, we're not looking at that, no. No.
TPS for the Ukrainians who live here in the U.S.?
What about it?
Are you considering revoking the TPS status for the more than 200,000 Ukrainians who live here in the U.S.?
What are you saying?
The Ukrainians that are here in the U.S., they're under a TPS status.
On GPS?
TPS, temporary.
Oh, I thought you said GPS.
TPS.
Yeah.
There was some news saying that they were going to be revoked and they were going to be deported from the country. Are you considering that for the
Well, we're not looking to hurt anybody. We're certainly not looking to hurt them. And I'm looking at that, and there were some people that think that's appropriate and some people don't, and I'll be making a decision pretty soon. Okay?
President Trump
But we're not looking to hurt them.
President Trump,
especially Ukrainians. They've gone through a lot. Yeah, Peter?
the clocks are going to spring forward on Sunday. When are you going to get rid of daylight savings time?
Okay, are you ready? So, this should be the easiest one of all, but it's a 50-50 issue. And if something's a 50-50 issue, it's hard to get excited about it. I assume people would like to have more light later, but some people want to have more light earlier because they don't want to take their kids to school in the dark. And it's a little bit one way, but it's very much a 50-50 issue. And it's something I can do, but a lot of people like it one way, a lot of people like it the other way. It's very even. And usually I find when that's the case, what else do we have to do? And
I got to ask, because you were talking about this in your joint address, you were talking about Butler. It's been 7 months. Why do you think we don't know more about the guy who shot you in the ear?
Yeah, oh, well, and the second one with all of his cell phones. So I want to find the answers. I've told them. In fact, today I said, we can no longer blame Biden for that one. He should have released that a long time ago. So they are giving me a report next week sometime, and I do believe I'll be I want to release the report. A lot of people have asked that question. You had one who had 3 apps, 2 of which were foreign, supposedly, and who has the biggest white shoe law firm in Pennsylvania, even though they don't live in necessarily a white shoe area. What's that all about? His law, the law firm. The other one had 7 or 6 cell phones, and I don't have 6 cell phones. And why would somebody have 6 cell phones? So we're going to be releasing a report on that soon, Peter.
But based on what you're saying right there, the lack of information and the data points that you just gave, does that make you think that there's some part of there's some bigger?
It could be. Well, it makes other people think that. It makes me think it a little bit too. I say, when you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious. And then on the second assassin, you had, and by the way, I have to tell you, Secret Service did a great job on that by spotting him. But on the second one, he had 6 cell phones. That's a lot of cell phones. And a couple of them had some strange markings on them. So, yeah, I want to find out, and I would be willing to release it. I mean, maybe there's a reason that we shouldn't, so I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis, but, Yeah, I would be very willing to release that. I'd like to see it. I want to see it myself. Not only you, I want to see that one myself.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes.
President Macron yesterday said that France was ready to offer its nuclear protection to other European countries. What do you make of it? And in this case, would the U.S. also maintain a nuclear umbrella for European countries?
Well, France is also willing to put soldiers into Ukraine for safety reasons if we can get it. I will say that we've made a lot of progress with Ukraine and a lot of progress with Russia over the last couple of days. And it'd be great to bring that to an end so we don't have to talk that way about nuclear. It'd be great if everybody would get rid of their nuclear weapons. You know, we have Russia and us have by far the most. China will have an equal amount within 4 or 5 years. And it would be great if we could all denuclearize, because the power of nuclear weapons is crazy. And, you know, I was very far along a process with Russia, despite the Russia hoax, which didn't make it easy. It was a total hoax, a total rigged hoax by some bad people. But despite that, I was very close to having a program with Russia, denuclearization, and we were going to get China. I spoke to President Xi about it, and he would have been very happy to have gone along with it. But bad things happened, like an election that was rigged happened. And so we had to come back 4 years later. But I would very much like to start those talks. The opposite of what you say, the denuclearization would be incredible.
Mr. President, on the auto tariffs that you were talking about, I know yesterday you spoke with the big three. Did you tell them that no more exemptions were on the way? And what was the reaction?
I told them, that's it. This was a short-term deal. And they came back to me yesterday. They said, could we have some help on the tariffs because of the speed? And I said, look, I'm going to do it, but that's it. Don't come back to me after the April 2nd. I don't want to hear from you after April 2nd. We're not going to be doing it anymore. I want to help them.
What was their response?
They didn't complain, but I helped them short term during this short-term transition. April 2nd is going to be a very big day for America.
Mr. President, my understanding is that the longstanding U.S. policy is that we do not negotiate with terrorists. So how did you come to the decision to send somebody from your team to negotiate with Hamas?
We are having discussions with Hamas. We are helping Israel in those discussions because we're talking about Israeli hostages. And we're not doing anything in terms of Hamas. We're not giving cash. We're not giving $6 billion like you hear other administrations give. And in fact, I got 59 hostages out, and we gave nothing. In 59, we gave nothing, not including what's going on with Hamas. I mean, I consider that something where we're helping Israel for the most part. We had a couple of hostages, as you know. We got a couple of hostages out, American hostages.
Mr. President.
But certainly, Peter, you have to negotiate. There's a difference between negotiating and paying. We want to get these people out. If you would have seen the people yesterday, maybe you did, I don't know, but if you would have seen them, the way they spoke about their captivity, it was unbelievable. It's terrible.
Are you thinking about making any changes to NATO where a NATO country gets attacked, but they're not paying enough dues, so the United States doesn't defend them?
Well, I've said that to them. I said, if you're not going to pay, we're not going to defend. I said that 7 years ago. And because of that, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you. And it also went for the attack. But if they got attacked, they said, well, does that mean you won't defend us? I said, are you current or are you delinquent? They said, if we were delinquent, would you? I said, nope, I would not. And because of that, as you know, hundreds of billions of dollars came into NATO. You wouldn't have NATO right now if I weren't there. And your previous Secretary General has said that. He said he's never seen anything like it. When I came to NATO, when I first had my first meeting, I noticed that people weren't paying their bills at all. And I said I should wait till my second meeting, and I did. And I brought that up. And I said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to participate. We're not going to protect you. And when I said that, as soon as I said that, it was amazing how the money came in. The money came in, and now they have money. But even now, it's not enough. It's really not enough. They should be paying more.
Mr. President, question on the investment, sir. You've overseen about
$2 trillion worth of domestic private sector investments come in just about 2 months. This is the newest one. It comes after your announcement of a new shipbuilding office at the White House during your joint session to Congress. Can you talk about why this is important, not only for national security, but to continue the renaissance of domestic manufacturing?
Well, we have to maintain a strong country. We have to maintain, we want to pay off debt. We have a lot of debt, but that'll start coming off quickly when this all comes around. Look, we've been supporting the whole world. You mentioned NATO and you mentioned other things. We've been supporting the whole world. When I first came in, we were paying almost 100% of NATO. NATO it was crazy. We were supporting NATO. We were paying the bills for other countries. And yet those same countries, mostly European, the European countries were ripping us off in trade. They won't take our cars. They wouldn't take our agricultural product. They wouldn't take anything. Yet we were taking their cars by the millions, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen, all of them. We were taking their cars, they weren't taking it. We were taking their farm products, they weren't taking ours. It was a total ripoff, and yet we were protecting them by giving them the money. And, that adds up to a bad number at the end of a lot of years, and that's what happened. And now it's time for this country to stop being ripped off. I had that done very much in the first administration. But then we had to focus on other things at the very end with COVID. But we had the greatest economy in history. I think we're going to redo it here, but even better. And I wanted to do what we're doing now in the first term, but we had so many other things to do. We had to fix the border, which we did. We had to fix our military. We rebuilt our military. We completely rebuilt the military, only to watch Biden give so much of it away to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. It's not even believable. It's not even believable what he did. The damage that man did or that administration did to this country is frankly not even believable. And in particular, allowing millions and millions of people to come into our country. Many of them were murderers and drug dealers and gang members and people from prison for very heinous crimes. For him to allow those people into our country, and now we're spending tremendous amounts of time and effort. Nikki and Tom Homan, who's doing an unbelievable job, but we shouldn't have to be spending anything on that. We had the safest border ever. Now we have actually, as you saw, the numbers just came out, where we have actually the lowest numbers in the history of our country. But we shouldn't have had to do that. What we're doing now is we're looking for murderers. Can you believe it? We're looking for murderers because thousands of murderers, some about 50% killed more than one person. One killed 5 or 7. And we're looking for those people right now. We shouldn't have to be looking for
President Trump, on Peter's question, are you going to make that policy, U.S. policy, that the U.S. wouldn't defend NATO countries that don't pay?
Well, I think it's common sense, right? If they don't pay, I'm not going to defend them. No, I'm not going to defend them. I got into a lot of heat when I said that. You said, oh, he's violating NATO. And, the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem, France. We got a problem, a couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure. So with Japan, we have a deal, which is a very interesting one. And I love Japan. We have a great relationship with Japan, but we have an interesting deal with Japan that we have to protect them, but they don't have to protect us. Do you know that? That's the way the deal reads. We have to protect Japan. And by the way, they make a fortune with us economically. There's another case. But we have to protect Japan. But under no circumstances do they have to protect us. I actually asked, who makes these deals? Yeah, Peter?
Well, so why stay in NATO at all?
I view NATO as potentially good, but you gotta get some good thinking in NATO. It's very unfair what's been happening. Until I came along, we were paying close to 100% of NATO. So think of it. We're paying 100% of their military, and they're screwing us on trade.
And when Zelensky inevitably comes back to the White House, what do you expect from him? And do you think you'll see him in a necktie?
Well, I think what's going to happen is Ukraine wants to make a deal because I don't think they have a choice. I also think that Russia wants to make a deal because in a certain different way that only I know, they have no choice either.
Are you still thinking of going to Saudi Arabia and meeting with Putin about this?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm going to Saudi Arabia.
Mr. President,
I've made a deal with Saudi Arabia where, because normally you'd go to UK first, and last time I went to Saudi Arabia, they put up $450 billion. You know that, right? You were there. We had American companies that took in $450 billion. I said, well, this time they've gotten richer. We've all gotten older. So I said, I'll go if you pay $1 trillion, $1 trillion to American companies, meaning the purchase over a 4-year period of $1 trillion. And they've agreed to do that. So I'm going to be going there, and I have a great relationship with them. And they've been very nice, but they're going to be spending a lot of money to American companies for buying military equipment and a lot of other things.
Is that a trip in the near future?
Probably over the next month and a half. Yeah.
Mr. President, you told us a couple of weeks ago that you were looking to speak with President Xi of China. That hasn't happened. How come? What are you waiting for?
I have spoken to him, yeah.
Since that last phone call?
I don't want to say that, but I have spoken to him. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, regarding...
I have a great relationship with President Xi.
But you've spoken to him...
It was hurt because of COVID.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That's why I don't call it the China virus anymore. He said, please don't call it the China virus.
But to be clear, you've spoken to him since January 17th?
I don't want to say that, but I have spoken to him.
Thank you, Mr.
And
President.
I speak to him a lot.
Regarding this executive order you signed revoking security clearances at Perkins Coie, do you think there should be more steps like this to be taken against other people involved in the Russia collusion?
I do, but that's going to be up ultimately to the Attorney General and various other people.
Absolutely. Just as a follow-up, the other night, we saw Democrats' behavior during your joint address to Congress.
Yeah.
Do you think it shows just how out of touch they are with the American people, especially given that 79%, according to a CBS poll, approved of your
I love this guy. Who are you with?
My name's Nick Gilbertson with Breitbart News.
I see. I really liked your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Sir, regarding the executive order...
The answer is just, Nick, just to, and I know your name very well. Good job, you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, the answer is I thought it was very embarrassing for the Democrats what happened the other night. And that's not said for any other reason other than it's obvious, it's fact. Even CNN fake news said that. They came out and they said it. And worse than CNN is MSDNC, which is the worst. And the good news is very few people watch them anymore. They have lost such credibility. And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said the other day, they should be forced to resign about that young person who was suffering greatly. Thank you, Nick.
Will you extend, if a TikTok deal is not made on the timeline you gave, will you extend that?
Probably, yeah.
You will? Okay.
I think, look, we have a lot of interest in TikTok. And China is going to play a role. And so hopefully China will approve of the deal. But they're going to play a role. But we have a lot of interest in TikTok.
How long will you extend it and how close are you to a deal?
Well, we'll see. But if I need, right now we have at least another month. So we don't need an extension. But if I needed an extension, I'd probably get it extended. Yeah,
Mr. President, regarding the executive orders, there was talk that you might sign one winding down the education department.
Which department?
The education department. Are you having second thoughts on that one?
No. I want to bring the schools. I want to bring the schools back to the states. And I've said it 100 times. We're ranked at the bottom of the list, and yet we spend more. We're ranked number one for cost per student. We're ranked at the bottom of the list in education. And I know if I bring it back to Iowa, Indiana, Idaho, all these great states, I think I could say 40 states, I want to bring it back. 10 states won't be perfect. 5 states will be probably not so good. But they will be every bit as good as Norway and Denmark and Sweden and all of the states that are rated at the top. If you tell me about Indiana and some of these great states that run really well, Iowa, you tell me about those states, and if they run their own education, they're going to do a lot better than somebody sitting in Washington, D.C. that couldn't care less about the pupils out in the Midwest.
When Mr. President sign that, when would you sign that order?
Well, I want to just do it. I mean, we're starting the process. We're trying to get the schools back into the states. Let the states run the schools. And I'll tell you, you'll see something, it's gonna blow your mind. It'll be run so well. The school system. And I also believe in school choice, but that will take care of itself.
A follow-up to that, Mr. President. If the education department were eliminated, how would you see sort of what department, what agency would handle student loans and the other types of federal grants?
That would be brought into either Treasury or Small Business Administration or Commerce. And we've actually had that discussion today. I don't think the education should be handling the loans. That's not their business. I think it'll be brought into small business maybe. Kelly really liked it and really would like to do it. So the loans would be brought into a group where they really do that. And I think it should be good. That is, by the way, the most complicated thing in moving. But it's very simple if you do that.
And the same for federal grants.
Rejected your plan to move out more than 2 million people out of Gaza. What's your reaction to that and to Egypt's plan and to this meeting that happened?
Out of Gaza?
Yeah.
I think that Gaza's a mess. And I think that Gaza could be good. I think it's got to be run properly. But right now, Gaza is an absolute mess, and it has been for many, many years and decades. Yeah, Peter, did you have one more?
I did, yeah. They have these 2 Starliner astronauts stuck in space for 8 months. Have you spoken to them?
They left them alone. Biden left them up there.
And what do you know about that?
I know everything about it. I said, we have 2 astronauts that are stuck in space. I have asked Elon, I said, do me a favor, can you get him out? He said, yes, he is preparing to go up, I think, in 2 weeks.
What do you know about how this went down? Because he's saying that the Biden White House was offered some kind of SpaceX rocket to go get these guys, and they said no.
That's what I heard. I can't tell you that, but that's what I heard. But Biden was embarrassed by what happened, and he said, leave them up there. I would have said, if you're embarrassed, you got to get them out. Elon is right now preparing a ship to go up and get them.
I'm sure that they will see this in space. What is your message to
So we love you, and we're coming up to get you, and you shouldn't have been up there so long. The most incompetent president in our history has allowed that to happen to you, but this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, you know, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other, but maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But, and you know, there's a danger up there too. They can have some failures up there that would be very bad. You got to get them out. So I've authorized Elon a week ago. I said, you know, we have 2 people up there that Biden and Kamala left up there. And he knows it very well. I said, are you equipped to get him? He said, yeah, he's got a Starship. And they're preparing it right now. And so Elon is going to go up and get him. Should I go on that journey just to be on the ship when we stop?
If that's an option, yes.
I should do it. Oh, that's terrible. I thought he liked me. I thought he liked me. I thought, Maria, should I do it?
Well, you should then come.
Stay here. Maria likes me better.
President Trump, you should then come back from space.
Well, when they come back, I'll greet them. How about that? No, we're going to get them out. I've authorized Elon Musk to go and get them, and he's prepared to do so.
Mr. President, what are you making of the market sell-off this week?
I think it's globalists that see how rich our country's going to be, and they don't like it. You know, there's a big market out there. But again, they've been ripping off this country for years, and now they're going to do great. Everyone's going to do great, but we can't let this continue to happen to America. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Great.
All right, everybody. He did not sign the Department of Education order, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. Everyone's been talking about it, so it's imminent. Just a quick recap. I got something to tell you. Talking about the stock market, and I told you yesterday in my past life of being a stockbroker, a lot of what he says is inside baseball and is going to go over many people's heads. But the idea of what is causing the downturn in the market, you have to dig in deep. And there are companies that are going to be in trouble because of the tariffs, and those companies are diving real quick. And at the same time, this would be something that could be a profit-making opportunity for you. Now, full disclosure, not telling you what to do. But if you know that, and you look and see, you can always go in on Google or even on Grok and say, show me the top losing stocks for the last 5 days. And then chart them inside of, NYSE or someplace else. And if you see a drop like that and it drops off, look and see who their competitors are in America. So if ABC Lumber is from Canada and their numbers are going like this, then you're probably going to see some other company here in America who makes lumber start to look like this. And so watch the pattern. If you know that avocados from Mexico start to look down, start to look for a competitor in America, jump in and go with them because they're probably going to see an uptick, and so on and so on and so on. So if you know who the companies are that may get hit, look at their competitors. Just saying. It's just an easy way sometimes. But I'm not a financial advisor, so don't listen to me. You contact a financial advisor, but do some research. Also, he said something huge, and I had just said that to you guys. Didn't have any advanced warning or anything, but he mentioned what his priorities are. Did you hear it? What he said was the priority is getting murderers, capturing them, doing whatever you need to do, illegals, whoever. Get the real top of the food chain bad guys, murderers. We got to get them. So let's assume Pam Bondi went to work one day and she sat down with her boss, and her boss said, here's what my priorities are. What about this Epstein thing? Yeah, you'll get around today. Go get these bad guys that are here who have killed people, and let's put them away. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense that, many people probably don't really understand, won't even grasp, but made sense. As soon as I heard it, I was like, boom. Did he just say it? Did he just tell everybody what his priority was? Yep, he did. You can rewind it and you can hear it. All right, so before I get back to the crazy Sanctuary City hearing, let me just tell you a little bit about Patriot Addict and everything that they're doing with, the people who watch this channel. This is the Patriot Addict knife. I don't normally talk about individual products. I talk about gold and silver, but this thing, it has got me. And the reason it has got me is I liked it. This is what it looks like. And many of the people here who watch our videos have gone ahead and got this. The knife is free, except for, I think you have to pay a $13 or $14 shipping fee, which is well worth it. This thing, they said, is worth $70, and they're giving it away for $13. It's a heavy knife. This isn't something that's a piece of plastic or something. You would think with a commemorative product that it might not be the weight. It's got the weight. It's heavy. It's quite sharp. It's not bending. You can see that. I'm a big guy. If I wanted to, I could show you it bending. It's not bending. It's got a little notch here to cut a seat belt that might get stuck if you had it. and then it's got the little knob right here to punch and break a window. Easy to open, easy to shut. Somebody told me earlier it's not a switchblade, no, but it is a blade, and it's sharp. And look at it, it's very, very well made. So if you want to get your own Trump knife, Trump red knife is what they're calling it, go ahead and go. Just all you have to do is click the QR code right there. Only $13.99 or $14. Call it 14 in regards to shipping. Just go right here. Just click the QR code. If some of you guys can't get a QR code, just leave me a message, and if one of the mods can email me, and I'm working with them to go ahead and get a URL that I can put on the screen as well. So in that regards, it's an awesome product. All right, here we go. All right, so let's get back into this this interview, or not interview, this hearing that they had with the mayors of a couple sanctuary cities. And then also I've got an interview coming up with Congressman William Timmons, which is pretty good. So let's go.
System, and yet here you guys are aiding and abetting in that entire process. I want to be very clear about something. Open border policies, which is something that you guys are talking about, hurts people on both sides, meaning the people that are coming here illegally and then American citizens as well. I do not think you guys are bad people, but I think that you are ideologically misled, which is why, unfortunately, based on your responses, I'm all going to be criminally referring you to the Department of Justice for investigation. And as soon as I leave here, these will be going over to Pam Bondi. I'm not doing...
No, let me interject. I am MAGA. I am obviously a Trump supporter, but you got to call it as it is, all right? I do not believe, and I think Congressman Timmons will back that up, that she has the authority and power to create a criminal referral on behalf of the Oversight Committee. That criminal referral would actually come from James Comer, who is the committee chairperson. So maybe she's going to hand it off to him, and then he's going to hand it off to Pam Bondi. But I don't even think Pam Bondi needs a referral at this point. She is the Department of Justice. She's got, U.S. attorneys at her bequest. They can just look at what these idiots said during this hearing and just go arrest them, prosecute them.
That in an effort to bully you guys, but I do believe that your policies are hurting the American people, and you can make that known with the evidence that you can present to the Department of Justice. But if you guys continue doing what you're doing, you're not going to help anyone. You're going to hurt more people, and that's exactly why I'm tired of it. The American people are tired of it. And Chairman, I yield my time.
Mr. Timmons from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to speak directly to all four of the mayors. Y'all did the best you could with bad situations. You did. The former president let in, I don't even know what number to use.
And this is Congressman William Timmons, who we're going to be talking to in a couple minutes. Okay.
Some places use 8 million, some people use 16, 20, whatever the number is. And so each of you had an influx of illegal immigrants into your cities, and you have federal, state, and local statutes that you have to deal with, and an untenable situation was created. I want to go one by one. Mayor Adams, how many illegal immigrants were present in New York City in the last 4 years? How many people did you have to deal with?
230,000.
All right, so, and that's 230,000 people that were using your limited resources that American citizens are entitled to, but you were actually required under local ordinance or under state law to provide services to them. They're not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be here because we have borders. Borders are supposed to matter. Mayor Johnston, how many illegal immigrants did you have to deal with over the last 4 years?
Thank you, sir. We had 42,000 newcomers arrive over.
42,000. Mayor Johnson, how many illegal immigrants did you have to deal with over the last 4 years?
Over the last 4 years, there were roughly 50,000 asylum seekers bused from the state of Texas to the city of Chicago.
And you know why that Texas did that? Because 10, 12, 15 million people were in Texas, and they had to deal with the same problem you did, and they thought it was appropriate that everyone should have to share this burden. Mayor Wu, how many did Boston have over the last 4 years?
We don't ask about immigration status and giving services, so I don't have that number.
Okay, well, we'll say at least tens of thousands. So all of you have limited resources, limited tax dollars to spend to serve your community. And there's people that have a disproportionate need, and you have obligations to serve them more if they are struggling, if they do not have income, if they are jobless. So you have limited resources, and all of you had this problem. And we've been saying for the last 4 years that this is all because Joe Biden and his policies were allowing lawlessness at our southern border, which allowed millions of people into this country. Mayor Johnson, did you say anything to the Biden administration? Did you say, we're struggling, we can't make ends meet, we can't serve our citizens because of your open southern border? Did you, Mayor Johnson?
Yes, Congressman, I did reach out to the Biden administration about that.
Did you publicly address this? Did you ever challenge them and say, this is ridiculous, secure the southern border?
What we focused on, sir, was the biggest challenge we were facing was folks needed the right to work.
I couldn't find anything where you told the Biden administration they are...
So he wanted to push right to work. He wanted to give these people jobs. That's not what Mr. Timmons is talking about. Did you tell them to stop the flow of all these people?
Wrong for their border policy. Mayor Johnson, did you publicly attack the president, President Biden, in the last 4 years because he let millions of people into this country and it hurt your constituents? Did you publicly attack him for his policies?
So I publicly called
Did you say secure the damn border? No, you didn't.
I publicly called for Congress to pass comprehensive immigration
Okay, we'll get
reform.
to that in a second.
And that did not happen.
Did you ever publicly attack the open border policies of the previous administration?
Congressman, in fact, we hosted the former Secretary of DHS in Boston so that he could see the impact.
To talk about how we need legislation, I'm sure. Mayor Adams, did you ever publicly attack President Biden for his open border policy?
Yes, in addition to having $7 billion out of our taxes.
Did you see what his administration did to political opponents? Did you see what they did to President Trump? I mean, I guess you're standing up for your people. I admire that. For the last 4 years, I heard how Congress needed to spend tens of billions of dollars to secure the southern border. We had to change policies. We had to do all this nonsense. We didn't need to do any of that. We just needed a new president. Last month, we had the lowest number of border crossings in decades. And I can promise you this, that's going to continue. Because our president has always had the ability to stop this. And the only one of you that stood up to the previous administration was under investigation shortly thereafter. Weird how that happens. We're turning the page here. Going forward, each of you need to cooperate to the fullest extent of your ability with President Trump, with ICE, with all federal laws to make sure that you can secure your people and stop spending billions of taxpayer dollars on people that do not deserve it. Your constituents deserve those resources, not the people that enter this country illegally. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ms. Ansari.
You see, that's the problem with Adams had enough. He said something, and right away they went to attack him, and they actually indicted him and a few people in his orbit. These other people obviously could see what happened to Eric Adams. So you can, by deduction, see that if they so much as voiced an opinion in opposition to Biden and Mayorkas, they would have met the same fate. They would have had to come out of pocket and face all these legal fees and criminal indictments, to the point where Trump is in office, Pam Bondi is now the Department of Justice, and the court system won't let them release him from the lawsuit. The Attorney General is releasing the lawsuit, dismissing it. We don't even want to go forward. And the judge is like, oh, I don't think we're going to let you do that. Which is never. I mean, it's insane. They are so pissed off at Eric Adams, they are willing to destroy him, even though his term's almost up. And you don't think for an instant that Brandon Johnson, that idiot from Chicago, and the guy from Denver, and Michelle Wu from Boston didn't see what was coming their way. They had to. They had to have seen what was coming. And they knew, like, oh crap, we're going to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars because they're going to try and put me in jail because I spoke up. So Eric Adams is the model. Do what we tell you, shut up, and just keep taking care of these people. And finally, Eric Adams is like, hey man, we spent $9 billion. Where's the money? Do something. And of course, they attack him. Want to throw him in jail. And that's what the other ones were faced with. The problem I'm having with them is, say it. Come out and actually say it. What's wrong? Tell everybody, hey man, they would have thrown me in jail. They would have ruined my life. You know, your integrity should be valued more than your bank account. If you are a good mayor, and if you are able to help the city and the constituents also believe in you, then you shouldn't have any problem with your integrity saying, I can't do this anymore. I've swore an oath to the people of Boston, the people of Denver, the people of Chicago. That's who I have sworn an oath to, not to Mayorkas and Biden, to do whatever nefarious things you guys were planning. But you couldn't do that. And now, who knows what Pam Bondi has in store for you. Good luck with that. All right, so I'm getting ready to go to, what's this here? SB just sent me something. I'm going to have to save that one for tonight, SB, because that's a good one. But my interview is recorded, but, because of the timing, I knew President Trump would be coming on. This is who I'm talking to. I'm talking to Congressman William Timmons, and there's his X profile, Rep. Timmons on X. And if you'd like to go ahead and follow him and get used to him and hear what he has to say. The guy is very good. I believe he's MAGA. I mean, he's in the oversight committee. He was in the captain in the Air Force, former small business person. I think he was also a lawyer. And he, as you just heard him in this committee hearing, he sounds MAGA to me. So let's get into the interview that I had with Congressman Timmons earlier today. So Congressman Timmons, we just watched a whole bunch of the featured clips of what happened yesterday, and it was shocking to say the least. What was the goal of yesterday's Sanctuary City hearing?
I think it was twofold. One, retrospectively, to lay blame where blame is deserved. Joe Biden. Joe Biden for 4 years told the American people that he couldn't do anything to stop what is between 10 and 20 million people crossing the southern border, strangling our social safety nets, costing taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. So we wanted to make sure that the American people understood the consequences of those policies. And then we wanted to, look at the fact that President Trump was able to fix it in a month. And, we just had the least number of people cross the southern border in the last month in decades. And so this wasn't a problem with congressional action. This was a problem with the executive. All we needed was a new president, and that's what we got. So I think we accomplished both.
Could you believe the answers that you were receiving from these mayors?
My favorite was the Boston mayor who said, we don't have any idea how much money we spend on illegals because we don't ask for ID. I'm like, oh my God. And, this is the thing. What makes me the most kind of shocked is that she has this moral kind of high ground, like she thinks that she's doing the right thing, but really she is wronging her constituents because those resources are for them. They're not for people that entered this country illegally. They're not for criminals. They're supposed to be used to help American citizens that are struggling. All of our social safety nets have been either severely overburdened or outright broken because of President Biden's actions and because of the manner in which these mayors didn't respond and didn't tell the president and the world that they needed to change course. But my favorite is the exception. One mayor did say something, Mayor Adams of New York City, and within weeks, the weaponized Department of Justice had put him under indictment. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up.
You mentioned that, so I'm going to jump ahead. That was a later question, but I might as well pose it right now. Do you think that he was investigated to intimidate him?
100%.
Okay.
I mean, that's what Joe Biden does. if you're a political enemy, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, but if you're a political adversary, he's going to get his goons to come for you. But hey, look, again, we've turned the page. We've turned the page. We got good people at the Department of Justice, at the FBI, all of the people that were complicit in this ridiculous weaponization of government. They're going to be looking for a new job. They might be looking out of their jail cell, so we'll see.
How did you, twofold question, how did you pick these 4 to be the ones you wanted to come before the hearing? And 2, were you surprised they showed up?
Well, I think that question is well above my pay grade. Chairman Comer is in charge of that. But, I have a feeling that, one, Mayor Adams wanted to come because he wants to be vindicated for standing up for his constituents, standing up for New York City, telling Joe Biden that this was his fault. So I'm sure he wanted to be vindicated. And the Democrats treated him terribly. I mean, the Democrats on committee basically were calling him a turncoat and saying that he had towed the line for political favor with the new president. No, he just did the right thing. As for the other 3, the mayor from Denver was I didn't totally dislike his answers. I mean, he clearly was appreciative that this problem was not of his making, but I do think he didn't do enough to push back on the Biden administration. And I mean, Denver is freezing, so seeing tens of thousands of people, it doesn't matter why they came or where they're from, you don't want to let people freeze. I think he had a little bit more compassion there. The Chicago mayor was hilarious. I mean, I wanted to make jokes. Being a member of Congress and having an 11% approval rating is no bueno, but his approval rating is 6%. So, I mean, geez, that's impressive. He is impressively bad at his job.
And he seems oblivious to it. He seems like he just doesn't care. He's going to be there forever, which who knows how they cheat in the elections in Chicago, because the guy seems completely inept. Why just those 4 mayors? I mean, there's probably a bunch more you could bring in. Is there going to be a subsequent hearing because it went so well that you'll bring in other people?
I would have loved to have had San Francisco. I mean, I think San Francisco is the OG sanctuary city. And they said so many things, and they've thumbed their nose at federal law enforcement so many times. I think our goal was, again, to do a retrospective, to lay the blame where it is deserved, and send a message to all of these mayors that are crazy enough to think that they can defy federal law. We're either going to take their funding or we're going to come for them criminally, because if you violate criminal law, you're going to get arrested. And if you violate the intent of this administration, we're going to withhold funding until you come around.
That was you're so good to talk to, because you lead right to where I was going. The next question I was going to ask you was indeed about the funding. Where does that stand? Are these mayors still thinking they're getting federal funding? Has that been paused? Where is that?
We'll see what they do. I mean, ball's in their court as far as I'm concerned. When ICE comes calling for a criminal illegal that they have in their jails and they don't turn it over, we will withhold funding, 100%. So, I mean, there's so many examples of them not notifying ICE of people that we have warrants out or detainers out. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people in this country that have the court system has already determined they need to be removed from this country.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If that person is in their custody and they don't turn them over, we're coming for them.
So what's this? You've had the hearing. It went on for a while, had a bunch of theatrics. The Democrats, they're usually crazy. So what's the next step with this?
I think, one, we got to continue to have oversight over any city that is not complying with federal law. And 2, we got to work with the administration to make sure that we have a good flow of information. So, the executive branch can withhold funding in certain regards, but Congress can also do that through legislation and through reconciliation. So we're going to be using all the tools in our toolbox to achieve this objective.
Now, I saw also towards the end, Representative, her name always gets me, Anna Paulina Luna, said she was referring a couple of these people to the Department of Justice for criminal referral. Where's that going to lead?
I'm unaware that members of Congress can independently issue a criminal referral. I think that is a committee-wide status. So Chairman Comer would be in charge of that, and I actually think we have to vote on it. So the committee would have to vote, and I guarantee you the Democrats will be acting out on that one. It will be fun to watch.
Just make sure he films it, put it on live so we can watch it again.
it would have to be live. So that I would be interested to see whether that actually comes to fruition. I think that the degree of culpability and the criminality, I would need to see a little more of the elements of each crime and understand what criminal code they're alleged to have broken to understand that. But I'm open to it.
So today, speaking about criminal codes, it wasn't a criminal, but it was something civil within the House. So Al Green was censured today, and of course the Democrats decided to turn it into a ritual and start singing and everything. I noticed that a number of Democrats jumped over and actually voted for that. Were you surprised with that?
I really wasn't. I was actually surprised more didn't.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you think about it, what he did was inappropriate. I mean, we've had previous instances of outbursts, but those outbursts were very short and then corrected. And the speaker asked him to stop and to sit down and to, engage in appropriate decorum. And he just kept on and kept on and kept on. And, I mean, the shaking the cane was a nice touch. I mean, I don't think that anybody in this country thinks that he should have acted like that. And I think that Congress needs to police our own. And, I hope it sends a message that we can't do that in the future. I mean, an outburst or a boo here and there is always going to happen. I mean, I've seen it happen with President Biden before. We had the infamous "You lie" from my good friend here in South Carolina, for Obama, which, by the way, Obama was lying. But, I just think that we're always going to have outbursts, but the degree and the continuity and the refusal to stop warrants a censure motion. So I do think that Congress needs to maintain kind of long-term continuity as it relates to standards, and I do not see previous outbursts even close warranting a censure relative to what Al Green did.
I actually felt bad for him for a few seconds because, number one, he was standing up, unlike the "you lie" statement. He was standing up and he was holding this cane. And I'm thinking, don't step forward because the President of the United States is right there and they're going to take you down if you start making a move. And I thought that you're incredibly stupid. It's not the same as sitting in your seat and yelling. You've got a weapon, per se, in your hand. Don't make a mistake and step forward. It's crazy. So everybody has seen what has happened in regards to the State of the Union or joint address. How bad was it? Were you there, number one? Number two, and did you look over and see these people just sitting there after victim after victim, a 13-year-old cancer patient? I mean, how did it make you feel? I mean, me from home watching that, I was embarrassed that was broadcast to the world. That this Democrat Party seems to me at this point isn't even viable. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I was embarrassed for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember every State of the Union that Biden gave, I stood up and clapped, I would say, for 20% of what he said. I mean, a kid with cancer, a kidnapped hostage. I mean, the spouse of a slain police officer. I don't care what Democrat says we need to praise that person, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to clap for him because that's the right thing to do. That's the American thing to do. I disagree with Joe Biden on virtually everything. But if he wants to praise a cancer victim or, a slain law enforcement spouse, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I was embarrassed for the Democrats. And, I mean, to be fair, I think about a fifth of the Dems did stand up. A couple of them clapped a lot. And I remember that, too, because when Sinema, when I first got elected and President Trump was still in the White House, she stood up and clapped for half the stuff he said. So, I mean, it was funny because she was the only one. But I was embarrassed for the Democrats Tuesday night. And, they're going to learn in the midterms that they can't act that way.
If you had to guess, because I guess none of us really know, in case you do, who is the de facto leader of the Democrat Party right now? I know, Schumer and Jeffries are supposedly ranking members and all this other kind of stuff, but are they actually telling these people to be idiots like this? I mean, I don't know how any leader would have put their people in such jeopardy by having them look so stupid.
So they're in a really bad spot. I don't think that they really have a very good plan. I think Trump's doing a good job of, one, making it difficult to respond to everything. He's sprinting. His team is sprinting to implement the agenda that 77 million Americans said they wanted.
Right.
So, I think that Jeffries is probably the leader. I think he actually has credibility. Pelosi had no credibility. Right. Schumer has no credibility whatsoever. So, I think Jeffries, while he and I strongly disagree over the role of government and on a wide variety of policies, I actually think he has some credibility and he's earned a bit of trust across the aisle. So, I think Jeffries is probably the future, but the problem is that he's in New York and he doesn't really represent the country per se. I did see Gavin Newsom said on a podcast that he fully agreed that men should not be in women's sports. So I guess Governor Newsom is looking to try to come to the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, he's articulate and he can speak. He's just insane. Half of his policies are just ridiculous. So I don't know. Maybe Newsom has a future, but I don't know.
So last question. The cat is out of the bag per se, and it seems as though at 2:00 President Trump is going to sign an executive order taking away the Department of Education or dismantling it or telling Linda McMahon to begin to dismantle it. What kind of fight do you think you're going to see there?
I mean, they'll kick and scream. It's fine. It's the fourth largest budget in the federal government, $80 billion a year. And this is the thing. The federal government should not be tying the hands of our teachers. That all the Department of Education does is it uses a very small percentage of the budget of our state and local schools to try to get them to do stuff they want, that they think they should be doing. But all they're doing is tying the hands of teachers. We got to drive decisions and dollars as close to kids as possible.
Right.
And the federal government has no role in that. If we want to make sure that kids are eating lunch if their parents can't afford to feed them, that's something we ought to look at. But telling teachers that they got to check every single box and do this, that, the other, and waste their time with regulations and paperwork, that's not what the federal government needs to be doing.
I said last question, but this is the last question. I've been sliding this into every person in Congress that we've been talking to because there's so much disinformation. Have you heard anything from DOGE about cutting Medicaid or Social Security? Because it seems like they all screamed that. Even Al Green went out there and screamed it. There may be some cuts to labor in terms of people working at the offices, but has there been any discussion about any benefits being cut?
If you're an American citizen and you're entitled to benefits under Medicaid or Social Security, you not only will not get any cuts, but you're going to get your benefits faster.
Yes.
Now, that said, if you are an illegal getting benefits, if you are committing fraud, if you are not entitled to benefits for whatever reason, you are not going to get your benefits because that's just what we have to do. We don't have money to be blowing through. I have two bills. I have one bill. It's called the TABS Act. It provides, it forces states to implement enhanced income verification.
Right.
If you make more money, then you're allowed to, in order to be entitled to Medicaid, you shouldn't be getting Medicaid.
Right.
So that's just easy. So just that alone, a pilot program in Missouri, it saved 18%.
Wow.
18% of Medicaid is almost $200 billion.
Wow. Wow.
So
wow.
we're going to save $200 billion every year. That's just Medicaid. So if we've got fraud being committed in Social Security where people are 150, 250 years old, yeah, guess what? Those people are not going to get their Social Security check because that's not real. We don't have 150-year-olds in this country. So look, we're going to save probably $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion each year in waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you're an American citizen and you're entitled to government benefits, you will get them faster, and we will save these programs for generations to come by cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what DOGE is doing. That's what President Trump has tasked us to do, and we will not fail.
One last question. I promise last question, and I'll get you out of here because I know you're busy. I just happened to remember this. So Elon Musk came and talked to, was it the Senate or did he talk to you guys in the House? And if
he talked to the Senate. Yeah, he talked to the Senate yesterday afternoon. Then he came over and he talked to the DOGE subcommittee.
Okay.
And I'm on that. So we met with him for about half an hour. And then he talked to the entire Republican conference for about an hour and a half.
And how'd that turn out, if you can say?
Fantastic.
Good, great.
Couldn't be more excited. You know, all that he's doing is he's creating a system of transparency, checks and balances. He's creating the data sharing that will allow us to use technology to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
Great.
He's creating the rails, the backbone of government transparency to make sure that people that deserve benefits are getting them. The fact that it's 2025 and we haven't done this yet is insane.
I'll tell you, these Democrats, they're picking the wrong hill to die on because, as you can see with every poll, it's quickly becoming an 80-20 issue, and they're over on the 20 side, which will everybody will tell you that's the wrong side to be on, and so they need to get a little bit smarter or something.
One other thing that we've uncovered is that a lot of these USAID, a lot of these government grants are being sent to non-governmental organizations, to NGOs that are not real.
Right.
So, I mean, Democrats say, hey, we're going to give this money for this purpose. Go create a 501c3 and we'll give you $2 billion. I mean, what? So, and the crazy thing is that's not illegal. It's just completely immoral, and it defies common sense for using taxpayer dollars in that way.
I was almost thinking with the Supreme Court ruling yesterday that the next thing that maybe should happen is, okay, so this is just for contracts that were supposedly already completed. Is there any way that you guys can, either you or through Department of Justice, investigate to make sure the contracts were completed? Because if it's for building, 95 different schools or something, did it happen? The $2 billion that's supposed to be released, how do we know that it actually is paying for services that were completed?
We're going to have to be fighting this battle, and it's going to be relentless. The Democrats can use every tool in their toolbox to try to stop what, again, I think 80% of the country is like, yeah, we should only give benefits to American citizens. Yeah, we shouldn't be spending money on transgender surgeries in Malaysia. That's not a good use of tax dollars.
You know what really... we saw them. They didn't stand for the widows. They didn't stand for the 13-year-old cancer victim. I think one thing that's really going to hurt them is they didn't stand or applaud for no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security. How are you going to? I would love to know who your opponent would be, and you just have to turn to them and go, so you don't want to cut people's taxes. I mean, it's a losing issue from the very beginning. You'll be able to cut up and have all kinds of commercials against your opponent.
I don't think I'm gonna have a Democrat run against me. The last one spent half a million dollars, and she underperformed the last person that ran against me that spent $0 by I think 5,000 votes. So we're good in South Carolina.
Well, Congressman Timmons, thank you very, very much for your time. Oh, what do you got going on there? What was that? Did you see that?
I love it. I did a thumbs up and I got fireworks. It's great.
Well, thank you much for your time. I know you got a big fight today once these people start talking about the Department of Education. And you're welcome back at any time. If you want to give a message, just let Ashley know. We'll get you back on.
Hey, great to see you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye, brother. All right. So obviously, this is Barry of the present. The Department of Education executive order did not drop today, as we saw when Trump was talking. So just want to thank Ashley again, getting another killer interview. I know a couple of you guys were commenting like, yeah, he likes Jeffries. No, he's not liking Jeffries. He's got some credibility in regards to whatever they've talked about. Obviously, the guy's a buffoon when he's on television, but we're not privy to whatever conversations they have in private. So something may have been said to some people, and they know stuff that we don't in that regard. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that interview. Ashley's doing a great job, as far as I'm concerned, getting more and more of these, congressmen, or actually getting congressmen to come in, which is normally reserved for the really big channels, and we're getting them, on our channel here that's just growing, which I guess that's why I've got to begin changing the business model somewhat. But stay tuned, you'll see a lot of changes. So with that being said, let me go ahead and take a few comments. Fireworks and balloons. What's that say? I don't know what that thing was. I don't know what he pushed, and all of a sudden the fireworks came out. Rose says, if I walked out of my door and committed a federal crime, I'd be in jail before nightfall. Yes, exactly. We can't do it. The 20% are on the take. Could be. Majority of states have income taxes and sales tax. We don't have an income tax, but we have a sales tax here in Florida. I don't want to go into all that because those numbers kind of freak people out. But in any event, a lot of thank yous to Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. And Cheryl, I'm glad you guys liked that interview. And here, I'm trying to ask the questions I think you're going to be interested in. I know some of these people go on television, and when they go on television, they get asked pretty much the same stuff over and over and over again. And I want to make sure when I'm interviewing people that they know this isn't going to be like a regular television interview. First and foremost, most of the time when they're on Fox or some news channel, you're in and out in like 5 minutes. They don't give you a 20-minute long interview. And so one of the things I'm going to start doing, because I think this is important and I think it would be very interesting to you guys, as I'm getting more and more interviews put together, I'm going to begin asking you guys to submit questions. Email. I'll put a graphic up probably this week, and I'll design one. Like for, let's see, what do we have next week? When is she coming? Nancy Mace will be here. Hopefully no schedule changes. She should be here on Tuesday, the 11th. And then the following week is General Flynn on the 17th. So I'm going to start putting up things and say, hey, what kind of questions would you like me to ask Nancy Mace? What kind of questions would you like me to ask General Flynn? And then, I'll look through your questions as well. And if some of them make sense and they're not crazy, then we'll go ahead and say, it'll be, hey, here's a question from Sheila from North Carolina. Sheila would like to know, bam. And I want to integrate you guys into the interviews. Hope you guys like that. All right, so let me get ready to read the Super Chats. But before that, let me hit this. And hit it again. And it didn't work. I don't know why that didn't work today. It chose not to. Let me go here. Hey, if you'd like to join 15,000 plus fellow patriots on X in our private X/Twitter group, go to fanfareshop.org/group. Just put in that URL in your browser. It'll take you right to our private group on X. Love to see you there. Let's share some content. And if you'd like to win a hoodie, or rather if you'd like to enter to win a hoodie, go to fanfareshop.org, fanfareshop.org, and register to win a Trump hoodie.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Okay, that worked. I'm not sure why it didn't work to begin with, but it's working now. Somebody had emailed me and said, Barry's computer was having a problem. No, it wasn't my computer. It's this dashboard that I have. I might have to replace that. It's not the computer. Computer's rocking. All right, so let me bring in the super chats, making the window smaller, and there we go. All right, here we go. All right. Mr. Anderson, Elon said it's going to be amazing. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Renee, I moved my RA from Charles Schwab to gold and silver with Lear Capital. Good luck. Hope everything works out with you. Let me know. Ryan, Barry, the mods here do a wonderful job. They are awesome. They are fair and communicate well. As for the shows, I love them. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Sandy, thanks, Barry. I've learned so much from you that I would never learn while watching Fox. Yeah, I agree. Viking King, thank you, mods, so much. Don't stop being awesome. This is a donation for the mods to have a night out, and I shall take care of them. Fair Isle, these congressional freaks need to be called out what they are, cracktivists. Yes, they are. Tonight's show at 8 o'clock, which I am going to make it. I will do it. I'm feeling fine, rested. So much news. Demon of Cybertron, all Brandon Johnson cares about is giving money to NGOs for kickbacks and giving all the money he can to school unions that he's a part of. And I don't know why they vote these idiots in, because it's crazy. James Bond, hands behind their backs. Trump's the greatest president of all times. Thank you, Barry. Thank you. Yeah, they've got to rest. But now you know that they walked into a huge crime scene. And they're going to have to take their time and start from the top and start coming down. Nikki B, the Dems are done. Thank you, Mary and Bods. Thank you, Barry and Bods. Myrna Nacino, this forensic detective revelation of the truth. James Bond, the cue ball looks like Alienation. That's Presley. Robert Husbands, let's have a poll. I'll start. Donna Kroom, thank you. Chrissy Crouch, can I apply for a mod? I've watched you since July, and I've learned so much from you, Barry. I'd love to be able to help out. Well, maybe I'll let Ashley or SV reach out. Thank you. Jeff123, Barry, you're missing the point. The DOJ is much more than Pam Bondi. I understand that. Let one of the other lawyers deal with the mayors of sanctuary cities. I understand that. From what I'm going to show you tonight, they're fighting a number of fires on different fronts. Some of these people are actually being, confrontational against her. These are people. Start there. Rest the confrontational agents first. Why the mayors and not the governors? I want the big dogs in the hot seat, especially California's Newsom. Notice what's going to be happening. Newsom might be an idiot, but he's a politician. And he's starting to realize that the opening for him to get in is to move to the left. Start looking like, I'm not these crazies here. I'm going to move and be a moderate. You can see it happening already. Jeremiah Carey, you can't get rid of these newcomers. They're starting to lay eggs to drive our grocery costs down. We need to shelter them. Elaine Van Sulichin, don't listen to any critiques of your show. You made your show fabulous. Do exactly what you've been doing and don't change a thing. Well, thank you very, very much for that. I greatly appreciate that. Debbie Dubois, this is a freaking joke. These mayors need to be jailed. They are nothing but liars. But I give them the benefit of a doubt that they couldn't go through the Eric Adams treatment. That may be something too. Maria Bartiromo was in a movie Arbitrage. She had a small part as a financial reporter. I wonder where that interview, I'll have to look and watch her shows and see where that's going to land. Brian Newland, Jimmy Carter started the Department of Education, sums it up. And it just became one big grift pile. BJK, thank you. BLS Doom Crew. Very Crypto Summit at the White House tomorrow with Trump. Could it be some volatility? Hope you can cover it or include it in the show. Thank you for telling me. I should write that down right now. So it's a Crypto Summit. I bet you it's going to be televised. If it's televised, I can pull it. Or if they stream it. Thank you for telling me that. I'd love to stream that. I'd like to learn as much about that as possible. I feel like a little kid. I just want to be a sponge and learn about it. Therese, you mean Florida don't have state tax and only 7% sales tax? Yep. People don't understand that about Florida. No income tax. Getting ready to get rid of property tax, and all we have is a 6% sales tax that sometimes can go to 7%. That's it. That's why everybody moves here. That's why I keep telling you, arguably one of the biggest retiree states in the country. Maybe Arizona might be close, but arguably the biggest retiree state in the country, and people on fixed incomes, and they just pay a consumption tax. They don't have to pay any income tax, and they're about to get a break on their property tax as well. So all kinds of reasons to get down here if you can. Love to have you. Speaking about getting down here, we're getting close to finalizing a deal on a spot for a party to get together. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. A whole bunch of information today, and then tonight is going to be a little bit more fast-paced. It's going to be bam, 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 bam stories, and so kind of shifting into a different realm. But let me know how you like it. In any event, here comes the after party, and also tonight we'll give away hoodies. Talk to you guys in about, it looks like 3 hours. See ya.